mask pain temporarily. It helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF.
The Morning Xtra.
Morning, y'all. We appreciate you being here early on a Monday.
That's an inauspicious start.
That's right. It was there and then it was
Welcome
gone.
to Monday.
That's right. You know what? Mondays are bumpy sometimes. Mondays happen.
The computer just decides to crap out first thing in the morning.
Like, I will not do as you say.
You've asked for too much. You hit play.
That's exactly right. I know that's my job, but I do not care. Anyway, Los, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. Just finally get a weekend off next weekend.
Oh, yeah.
But we completed the crazy stretch of since January 7th, always having a tournament somewhere.
Every weekend,
Lake Point, we finished it up. And so, got a chance to do a little golf on Saturday. So good weekend all the way around.
How'd you hit it?
We were good. I think we scored, 12 under as a group.
Okay.
We were playing with my stepdad, who's 73 years old, and my father-in-law, who's 69 years old. So, we were out there to have a good time.
Yeah, y'all weren't
we weren't going to compete. But we did well.
That's
we did well.
awesome.
It was a good time.
That is good time.
North Forsyth Volleyball is what we were raising money for. So.
Yeah, right. I'm telling you, those golf tournaments are going to start popping up everywhere because I think
we're getting into golf season.
That's right. Well, that and what is it? Next Sunday we go to daylight saving, so we'll get a little
the extension of your golfing hours.
It's exactly right.
You can play till 8 o'clock.
Yeah, being out there, being able to play later in the evening, which is good, and hopefully we're headed toward warmer weather. And I know Saturday we're
out of nowhere.
Yes, exactly.
Sunday. Whoa.
Yeah, what the world happened? Yeah, because we were over in South Carolina at Sumter, and Jacob played well. The team didn't finish the way they'd hoped, but they put up a good fight, and they played like the number 10 team in the nation. And
his back's hurting for having to carry those fools.
Yeah. Well, there's about 5 kids.
I know it too. My back hurts from the weekend.
Yeah, that's right. But it was fun. But that was the thing. Saturday was absolutely stunning. And then we left Sunday morning. They still played. They had a game at 1, and lost 2-1. Just stinks. But it was freezing as we were leaving. It was absolutely freezing. I was like, where in the world? What is happening? Why is it like this? And hopefully when we get to daylight saving, we start trending toward April and some warmer weather.
Yeah, it was 28 this morning.
Yeah.
I took the dog out. It's like, this is not good.
The dog was like, I don't want to be out here.
She turned right back around. She's like, I'm going to get my business done and get inside.
I was giggling last night. My wife sometimes makes fun of me. Laura will laugh at me because I sit and giggle at cat videos and animal videos or whatever.
It is amazing how you have turned into, as you age, into your own version of a cat.
Yes.
Because cats can just kind of do their own thing.
Yes.
You put them off in the corner, maybe a play toy, and yours is cat videos.
That's right. And my mama, she loves animals, so I think I inherited it from her. But I just never had it this bad. And it was something just like that your dog experienced. It was this group of ducks coming out of a barn in the snow, and they just walk out and they're like, oh my God, what is this? And just did a big U-turn. I bet there was 20 of them. They just run right back, and I just sit and giggle to myself like a little girl,
Meanwhile, I'm finishing up the telepathy tapes.
That's exactly, which I didn't get a chance to.
And you're watching ducks walk out of a barn.
Well,
you see who spends their time more constructively, people. As much as you might get on me about the video games or the weird documentaries that I watch, I'm listening or watching things that I think might help out the show. Tugs like ducks. They make me smile. maybe that's the roundabout way that it works.
But you get a happy smiling
tug.
That's right. I'm never angry. I'm always, always in a good mood. No, but the telepathy, how did that go? Because when we talked about that and you sent it to me on Friday, it's a fast, because we watched the extended trailer of it, and it was so fascinating. So explain what that is, because I don't think most people are going to realize it.
So this went down a road last week, actually, because the documentary filmmaker made a podcast, and it was studying all these children who had autism and were unable to speak, and that the way they communicate with the world. and how they do have some sort of ability that their parents will talk about, how they can use their parents' minds in order to access things in the world. And so as you go through, and it's a 10-part series, but now what it has me doing, I have a good friend of our family. My wife was matron of honor in her wedding, and she was in our wedding.
That's sweet.
And what she has done, she used to do it for the state. She now does it privately with a different school. She works with children with severe autism. And I want to reach out to her and say, do you know anything about this? And
have you seen this play out before?
And if she says no, I'm going to be a little hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of waiting, kind of holding off.
No, it'll be beautiful if she's not. And then you share that with her, and that opens the door. That could be glorious.
And,
be
and that was what a lot of them, you get to the end of the series, and they were doing season 1. And part of it was I was listening to it on Joe Rogan. I got about 30 minutes in, and I said, I can't listen to this any longer unless I watch this and listen to this.
Because it makes sense.
It's not just reverberating with me. And so, yeah, I spent the weekend. I finished up that podcast. I moved into watching on the way, heading back and forth between Lake Point. I got to see Bill Murray do Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan, I saw that he was on.
Didn't say one joke, and yet I still found him incredibly awesome, because the whole talking point about Bill Murray in the 80s was whether or not he'd show up.
Yeah.
Like, you would book him to do a movie, like Ghostbusters. Booked him for it. They didn't know if he'd show up. And then he just comes walking onto the set in New York.
Such an odd dude.
He is a totally odd dude, and he was every bit that. He didn't even get lit up on that show until he started talking about golf.
Wow.
Like 2 hours in. It was a fun weekend to listen to stuff.
And he's got that big Murray Brothers golf
tournament. He's got a clothing line, yeah.
Well, that too, but then they do golf tournaments for fundraisers.
He asks everybody, you chubby guy? Because, as he says, the clothes are built to kind of take care of you if you're a little poorly. Yeah. So everyone, when he's getting ready to hand out a shirt, or, hey, you chubby guy?
That's his question.
That's his question.
And he's part owner of the Charleston River Dogs, the minor league team down in Charleston, South Carolina. And once in a while, he just shows up. And it's so weird. They say he don't go to the box or anything. He just wanders around.
Yeah.
And people snap pictures with him, and he's awkward, and it's glorious. It's everything you want.
And then I listened to Rogan and Elon Musk and got a chance to hear about, as Elon put it, they're cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, but not everything, because he doesn't want to be killed.
Yeah, that's right.
I was like, this was a fun weekend of stuff.
He said he's getting crazy death threats all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's got the best security in the world, but that's got to be an unnerving feeling it changed Donald Trump. It was an actual shot, but it changed Donald Trump's life.
Well, we're in a scenario now where we're seeing the winds of change, which way they're blowing and what's going on. Because Friday was a really good example of this, where a guy like Elon Musk, as he brought it up 2 years ago, he's celebrated on the left. He's building EVs. He's getting ready to send us to Mars, and now he's a Nazi. Yeah. And as he joked around in the podcast, he did not see that one coming. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I got you.
I like your weird humor. That's working out for me.
Mr. Comedian.
But remember, we've gone through the better part of 3 years where, hey, Zelensky's a hero around here. Yeah. Oh, Ukraine is the most amazing place on earth. It's a bastion of democracy.
And it's everything but. There was impeachment. There was discussion of impeachment over the weekend. The Ukrainian people, I'm convinced of it. I've read it enough now to think that I'm convinced of it. If they were to have held, or at some point,
if they were allowed to have an election,
he'd be gone. He has a 4% approval. 4% approval rate. You think Joe Biden was bad? He at least had 31. This dude's got 4, Los. That's nothing. Nobody. If you're breathing, you get a 4% approval rate.
I want to go back to Friday. Friday, I'm just minding my own business. I'm thinking about listening to another podcast. I'm trying to find a show on Netflix. I watched the Gabby Petito one too.
How did it turn out?
Pretty striking to watch that one.
Yeah,
I watched that with my wife. That was pretty striking to watch.
Yeah, it's tough.
To then see a text message come in, hey, are you seeing what Trump and Vance are doing to Zelensky? and in my mind, I'm like, what? I see this from Tug Coward. Tug Coward is popping popcorn and is watching this like it's a TV show. And by the time I now flip it on and I'm now catching the highlights, you were watching in real time. I went, oh Lord.
Dude, it was amazing. And you could see it building. Yeah. That was the crazy thing, right? So the thing went on for 45, 50 minutes, something like that. And in about 30 minutes, you'd seen some like jabs, and you could see the tension building in the room, almost like a movie scene. It's like, no way this is happening. And the facial expressions and the eye rolling and all this stuff. And then about 30 minutes in, Donald Trump had enough, because there were some jabs that Trump just let roll off his back that I didn't expect that he would, because at some point you knew he was going to just be like, dude, what? Get your ass out of here. And that's ultimately what happened.
It had the feeling of arguing with an ex-wife that you're paying for everything for.
That's such a great, because my example, because yours is brilliant. Mine was a child.
Yes.
Like an
I
adult
thought same
child.
thing too.
Because me and Laura were talking about that on the way home.
Because at least when it comes to an ex-wife, she probably has legal standing to get at your money. Your child really doesn't at that point. It's like arguing with a 15-year-old girl is what it turned into. And by the time your 15-year-old daughter decides all the things she's obligated to have that's yours, that was when the floodgates open. It was, hold on a second, you need to show a little bit of restraint here and appreciation for what's going on, that this country has written you checks to the tune of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars.
And the crazy thing, Los, is that he kept saying that he was grateful, yet his actions and his words said, I'm not grateful. I have told you what I want, and I expect to get it. And that worked with Joe Biden.
Well, he found out, new sheriff in town.
That's right. He did.
We're not going to
Quickly.
be bullied in this way. We're not going to play this heartstrings game.
Dude, how great a wingman is J.D. Vance.
Man, he's good.
Dude.
Hey, hold up a second. As Trump sits back like the OG.
Yeah.
All right, you've unleashed the Vance. Here we go.
And J.D. was... He made me... I was ready to stand up and salute J.D. Vance. The way he handled it was very different than Donald Trump. They had the same message, but the delivery was very different. J.D. was that cold killer, straight to the point. I'm not getting emotional about this because I'm right and you're wrong and you know it and I know it and everybody in the room knows it.
So I go back to that arguing with the ex-wife. Again, I'm still married, going near 20 years. I don't have an ex-wife. But my parents divorced at an early age, so I've seen some of this kind of play out.
And there's about a 50% marriage divorce rate in America, so we all have friends and family who are.
So you know when there's that moment when the exes are going at one another, and we've all had friends who've probably seen this, and there's that point where the punch goes below the belt, that we're no longer above board. And, it can turn into, she's complaining about what she's complaining, and you suddenly say, oh, yeah. Bet you never thought about this when you were hooking up with Dave, huh?
Right.
That low life, we ain't taking care of you.
Yeah.
Okay, we've just went below the belt. J.D. Vance, when he said, oh, yeah, and about all those forced conscriptions that you're taking, you're having to take people off the street and put them in your military.
That's right.
And you saw Zelensky's face like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I'm like, we see videos on this every week that
it's being reported everywhere.
You're grabbing people off the street and putting them into your war blender.
How many times have I said that? They don't have enough people, and they even tried to lower because their draft rate, or draft age rather, is 25. They talked about lowering it to 18, and Zelensky was not going to do it because he expects, if he keeps himself in not the best of position, that somebody else is going to come in and help him. He wants American boots on the ground. That is what he's angling for. It's what he's always been angling for. I've told you 1,000 times that is what he's angling for. Europe is angling for the same thing, and they're not going to get it. Donald Trump, his focus. Remember last week when I told you Trump was trying to do something to drive a wedge between China and Russia? I still more firmly believe that today than I did last week, and that's because they are shifting their focus from these wars that are not beneficial to the United States in any way to the real evil that is the CCP. That is going to be the focus of the Trump administration's foreign policy 100% as soon as they can get that sewed up.
This goes back to, we're always sold at times. Jesus, apple pie, baseball, mama, cooking in the kitchen. This is Americana. This is what it is. And it was sold to people in a way that, hey, supporting Ukraine, this is about supporting freedom. Freedom-loving people. Here's what we're trying to do. No, this entire game is about trying to curtail globalism and the way things are moving. I put this out in a tweet, and I said, you know what? I can take Russia, and I hope it just falls off the earth. And it's the same thing with Ukraine.
Same here.
I don't care for either one of them. I'm like, but for those of you that decide to fly the Ukrainian flag and tell me about their freedom and their democracy and Zelensky and all the stuff.
First thing.
What you missed out on is that it is a place for the global elite, especially the United States elite, the Uniparty, to launder money and have it pay them back. Once they lost Afghanistan, because Afghanistan was one of the places where they were laundering crazy amounts of money. We had soldiers that were protecting poppy fields. Look it up, look into it. They'll tell you they were having to protect the heroin trade there because we were seeing money out of this. It then just moved over to, we're going to do this sort of actions in Ukraine, centered around biolabs and child trafficking and human trafficking and money laundering. So that's all this place really matters to them. It's not some great Americana, here's what we're trying to do and save it. And we've just decided, as a current administration, we're not taking part in this anymore.
It seems so logical. It seems so obvious to most people, I think. Now that the facts are out there, now that we know that that's what it is, and you've got a cut from Michael Flynn.
And we saw the emotion of Zelensky and seeing them. The way he complained was so helpful to this cause.
No question about it. And you got the Europeans now that are giving the full backing of the Ukrainians.
Yeah, what does that mean?
They got 25 tanks. In the UK, they have 25 operational tanks. 25. They would like to be up to 60 in the next few months.
We had the British Prime Minister pointing out, we're here to support, but it's going to require the Americans.
Exactly right, because they have nothing. They have let their militaries. So when you hear Donald Trump say NATO needs to pick it up, he wasn't lying. He wasn't making it up. They do. They have continued to let their militaries dwindle. I have an article from the Wall Street Journal in our notes today for the show. The Wall Street Journal's reporting says that the Ukrainians have the most effective army in Europe, and that would be against the French, Italians, the UK, and the Germans combined. You know why? Because we've sent $178 billion and all kinds of technology, all kinds of weapons. We've done it all. So for Europe to stand up there and pound their chest like King Kong, yeah, that's great. It looks good on television. But there's nothing backing it up. They are a paper tiger.
No, they get to put their flags and have their leaders out there, and Canada gets to talk about with Trudeau, like, oh, we're gonna help them out. How much are you gonna help them out? $20 billion? Oh, that's interesting. That'll allow this thing to run for what, 3 more weeks?
Let's say
outstanding.
Let's say that Elon Musk said no more Starlink. War's over. Let's say Donald Trump said no more spec ops, United States Special Operators, or CIA, because we have 12 CIA bases in Ukraine.
No more tank missiles.
No more targeting of Russian military and tanks, or no more targeting of the Russians for the Ukrainians. Let them do it on their own. The war is over.
It's been over.
It's been over. That's exactly right. The only thing that's kept them going is the things that I just explained and Los just explained to you. So these are the discussions you won't get anywhere else. These are the discussions that are true. These are the discussions that matter. They're the correct ones. And you're seeing it play out in real time. Morning Extra and Extra 106.3. When we come back, Spike Cohen, who is a former Libertarian vice presidential candidate, joins us to discuss some major issues with Georgia's Department of Family and Children's Services next. The Morning Extra is live weekday mornings from 6 to 10, and here's what you missed. I saw somebody wrote this on Twitter. Am I going to find out they funded 9/11?
At this point, anything's possible.
Oh, my God, anything's possible. If we learn that, I don't know what I'll do with myself. I don't know that I'm ready mentally to hear that. And the crazy thing is, I'd almost be more surprised if I found out we didn't. That's the saddest part of it. I guess the silver lining is we take such joy in the dismantling of this swamp that they told me didn't exist. Seeing it dismantled layer by layer, that will help me get through anything that we discover, I believe.
Well, this was the news media, namely the New York Times, that initially the deep state doesn't exist. There's not black money going to all these places around the world. And then it turned into, okay, it's been proven. Now they pointed out it's good for America that we have this.
The Morning Extra, 6 to 10 a.m. every weekday morning on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
We're smart, we care. We're Central Heating and Air.
Central Heating and Air Conditioning wants you to know the start of the new season is the perfect time to ensure your home's comfort. Don't wait like most people do to have your HVAC system serviced. Your home should have maintenance twice a year. Maintenance helps keep your system running at peak efficiency and extends the life of your equipment. So turn to Atlanta's Carrier experts for your system's maintenance at 770-GET-HEAT or centralheat.com. With Central, you get Carrier products, Carrier warranty, and Carrier peace of mind. Plus, it's allergy season, and Central Heating and Air can fix what ails your house and possibly your family with home ventilation and air quality products. Central has packages designed around health using variable speed, fresh air ventilation, air cleaners, air purifiers, dehumidifiers, and more. With Central, you're not just a number, you're a member of the family. It's been that way since 1947, and they've serviced over 100,000 customers right here in Atlanta. Call 770-GET-HEAT or go to centralheat.com.
We're smart, we care. We're Central Heating and Air.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. Okay, you're driving along. Suddenly you hear that horrible sound of metal and crunching. It's an accident. Even if it's a little minor fender bender, man, that could be a nightmare. First, obviously, take care of yourself. But before you make a deal with an insurance company or anybody else, call David Van Sant with Van Sant Law. You know why? Because he used to work for the insurance company, so he knows how to get the right settlement and right away. Van Sant Law. Don't forget, if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. Protecting your interests. Insurance is great, but it's complicated. 855-GA-INJURY or vansantlaw.com.
Did you know that over 85% of grass-fed beef in stores is imported? Since the repeal of the country of origin labeling law in 2015, meat packaged in the United States can be labeled product of the U.S., even if it was born, raised, and harvested overseas. This is why I'm a big fan of GoodRanchers.com, the brand committed to 100% American meat. All of their products are born, raised, and harvested here in the U.S., free from antibiotics, added hormones, and seed oils. When you buy from Good Ranchers, you're supporting American farmers and ranchers who have fed this country for generations. And at GoodRanchers.com, you can also check out my exclusive box. Try my hand-picked selection, support my show, and directly support American ranches. Go to GoodRanchers.com/Beck and shop for my box today. Plus, right now, if you subscribe, you'll get free ground beef, chicken breast, or salmon in every box for a year and $25 off with the promo code Beck. Visit GoodRanchers.com. Shop, subscribe, and stand with American ranches and values. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered.
Fox on Tech.
Apple wants to help keep kids off inappropriate websites and apps. A number of states have passed or are considering laws aimed at keeping young kids off social media and keeping anyone under 18 off adult-oriented apps and websites. And despite certain pushback from those industries, a concern has always been accurate or adequate enforcement. How can companies actually verify who is using a computer or a smartphone while still preserving personal data security and privacy? Apple says it's found a way. They're calling it age assurance. It plans to let parents provide age verification data to app developers without having to reveal anything official, such as social security numbers, names, or birth dates. Such a system would keep Apple in the clear of having to handle sensitive information, but it hopes it would give parents more control over their kids' online activities. With Fox on Tech, I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Good morning. Here are your headlines for Monday, March 3rd. A 5-week-old baby girl is now safe with her mother after an Amber Alert on Sunday. Police say Milan Thompson was abducted by her father but returned after the alert. Police are still searching for the father, Jamail Darcel Simpson, a 29-year-old man believed to be driving a blue Jeep Grand Cherokee. Anyone with information is encouraged to call the Johns Creek Police Department. 4 people are dead after an overnight accident in West Georgia. The Georgia State Patrol says the driver of a Nissan Altima ran a red light and was struck by a GMC truck on the driver's side. All 4 of the occupants of the Nissan died on scene. The driver of the truck was transported to Wellstar, West Georgia with serious injuries. Today's weather starts with chilly temperatures in the mid-30s and eventually warms up to the low 60s with some clouds this afternoon. We'll have similar weather on Tuesday and a strong possibility of storms on Wednesday. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
Morning Extra and Extra 106.3, Tug and Los until 10. Glad that you're here. And we're joined by Spike Cohen and Ryan Ralston. He is the national director at the You Are the Power.
Yes.
Lock me up there for a second. You Are the Power website and foundation. Tell me about, let's start with that, because I don't know if everybody knows You Are the Power. Yeah. And if they don't, they should.
Yeah, introduce the audience to this.
Absolutely. So You Are the Power is an organization that we find people that are being
abused by out of control local government officials, and we can give a lot of examples of that. When we find it, we find not just the departments and agencies that are doing it, but the specific individuals that are doing it. We get their contact information and everything about what they're doing. We bring it out to the public so they know what's happening. We apply massive amounts of public pressure on those specific officials to back off and do the right thing, and we win and rinse and repeat. And we have a roughly 100% success rate.
Goodness, let me tell you, those are good odds. Because, like, can we go to Las Vegas together? That's what
exactly.
what I want to know. But you're here in Georgia specifically, and you've seen some success too, because DFACS is doing something to families that shouldn't be done, especially when it comes to their kids. There's no better place for kids than with their families, and that's not exactly the way it's being followed at DFACS.
No, what's happening far too often is parents are taking their sick kids with connective tissue disorders, autoimmune disorders, kids with long-term chronic health issues. They're taking them to CHOA and other children's hospitals, and they're presenting with fractures that, again, can be explained by health conditions and bruises that are being caused by their health conditions. The so-called child abuse pediatricians are accusing them falsely of abuse. They're literally having to ignore all of the medical evidence that shows that it's being caused by a health issue. The parents have their children stolen from them, essentially taken from them. They are arrested. They're often told that they can't speak with their spouse. So not only do they lose their children, they're legally estranged from their wife or their husband or partner for basically indefinitely. And they face never seeing their kids again. And the reason this is happening, because I know everyone that's listening to this is probably thinking, like, what kind of evil monsters are doing this? That's how they get funded. So the more cases they get of abuse, the more money they get at both the state and federal level. The Social Security Administration actually pays them per abuse case, and it's all the way down the line. It's DFACS, it's the family courts, it's the children's hospitals. Their funding's directly tied to it. Milton Friedman said, if you subsidize apples, you get more apples. The government is subsidizing abuse allegations. And no matter how many families have to get destroyed in order to get those abuse allegations, they'll do it because that's how they get their funding.
I get that you're trying to, protect the youth of this country. I will tell you from a personal story. I have a friend of mine, worked with him for the better part of a decade. His son, who's 6 years old, took up boxing. That's the one athletic activity that he liked. Yeah. And when he was in elementary school, the teacher had them write out what they were interested in. And he wrote, "I like boxing because you get to punch people." That then launched him into having to go to school. And now the discussion was, is this an abusive relationship? Yep. What kind of violence are you teaching in the home? And he had to explain himself to a guidance counselor that were automatically on alarm for, is this child in some sort of danger?
I bet he was on the defensive the entire time.
Yeah, had to be. And could have faced losing his kid, especially if the kid comes with bruises, right? Which would be explained by the boxing lessons. But they'll say, oh, there's already a history of, him talking about violence. Boxing, right? And then he comes in with bruises. Clearly, he's being abused. And the problem is, this isn't. I mean, there's some level of this is the fact that some of these so-called child abuse pediatrics, and I say so-called because there is no such specialty as child abuse pediatrics. They're pediatricians who take a very, very short course on what to suspect for child abuse, and then they're told that their agency, their department gets their funding based on how many times they call something abuse, and they sick them on the world.
It's unbelievable. It reminds me of my time in the Navy when we would hear, hey, we have to, as a division or a department, we have to spend this money because if we don't get it next year.
Exactly.
It's the same process, and it happens across the government at every level. That's the thing we have. I feel like that's the place you got to start is you got to stop whatever that is and whoever's idea that is.
Whenever you look at a problem that you're facing individually, in your family, in your community, ask yourself, do I want this problem to be solved by politicians, bureaucrats, law enforcement, and the cronies who own them?
No.
And this is the problem, is that, it's not that we shouldn't stop child abuse. Clearly, child abuse is a terrible thing. When you create a government agency, and especially when you don't have any oversight of that agency, and you allow them to determine how their funding is going to be set, you end up with essentially child trafficking. I mean, let's be very clear about this. When you are under the color of law or otherwise, you are illegally, because they're violating the law how they do this, you are illegally taking children from innocent parents to give to someone else for a financial incentive. That is child trafficking. And that's what's happening. Georgia is one of the worst more states for it, but it's happening across the country. And we have had, thankfully, over the last few days, we've had major breakthroughs in Georgia that we hopefully will put an end to it here.
That's Spike Cohen from You Are the Power. You can always check them out at youarethepower.net. And Ryan, I want to ask you about that as well, because as a father, so much of this is being aware of these systems that exist out there. And you talked about activism, about letting parents know, letting people know what is going on out there. Is that so much of it is just making other parents aware that there are these cases that they need to be aware of and how to fight against this stuff?
Absolutely. I'm a father of 3. My wife and I, over the past four months, we have 2 grandsons now. And so one of them is medically fragile. He was born 6 weeks early. He spent the first almost 3 weeks of his life in the NICU. And so one of the things that shocked me when we first started doing this type of work, or when Spike said, hey, Ryan, I want you to take a look at this in Georgia, is there's no mechanisms in place to prevent this. So when a child abuse pediatrician's level an allegation of abuse against a parent, there's no mechanism for a second opinion. There's no mechanism in place for a differential diagnosis. So basically what you're seeing is Child Protective Services in Georgia taking the opinion of one doctor and treating it as a fact. And that triggers child abuse protocol, which means local law enforcement gets involved as well. And so there's a series of missteps that takes place, but it starts first with that misdiagnosis of abuse. And so what we have been advocating for, at least for the past 2 years plus, is that there needs to be mechanisms in place, whether it's through legislation, whether it's through internal memorandum, through DFACs here in Georgia, to offer parents who have been accused of abuse, right? A medically fragile baby brought into the hospital by the parents, trying to get a better understanding of what's going on, are being accused of one of the most heinous crimes imaginable, harming their own flesh and blood. And these diagnoses take an hour, 2 hours at the most. And so from that point forward, parents are literally escorted out of the hospital. The medical records of the babies are locked down. Law enforcement becomes involved. The children are now wards of the state, so they can't get access to their own children. Parents can't get access to their own children. And the one thing that scares me the most is there's no mechanism for the parent to say, I want a second opinion about that. I have not abused my child. Where's this second opinion? So Georgia does not have legislation to make that happen until when Senator Matt Brass proposed legislation in Georgia, second opinion legislation to address that.
Ryan, how many parents are dealing with this right now?
I get, just in Georgia alone, I probably get 4 or 5 emails a week requesting our assistance. Now, if you're talking about nationwide, because this is what we do, I probably get an additional 30 or 40 requests a month for this. I mean, I'm talking with parents across the country. I'm talking with moms and dads in Canada. This is widespread. This is not just something that's isolated.
Systematic.
Yeah, systematic. It's not isolated to Georgia or the Southeast. This is national issue.
Well, and I'll tell you, reading through the website and seeing some of these cases that, as when you are going to become guests in here, the nightmare scenario of the financial ruin that happens to these people, of having to go through the medical and legal battles where parents are saying, I didn't touch my child. Here's the scenario that has gone on. Right. And now they might spend $100,000 in legal fees to prove that they never had any sort of issue with their kid other than them being medically fragile.
And then they still lose their kids.
Yeah.
And so, the financial nightmare, as horrific as that is just the beginning of it. They may never see their kids again. And their kids may grow up being told that their parents abused them. And the problem is, and like Ryan said, this is a national thing. This started with the Social Security Act, the Social Security Administration deciding to fund this entire pipeline of child protective services, which is not just the actual agencies themselves, but also the family courts, the so-called child abuse pediatrics within the children's hospitals and so forth. They're paying them per abuse case, and so what ends up happening, and they pay them more if the kids get put in the foster care system, and they pay them even more if they end up being permanently put in for an adoption, and they get paid even more if they turn out that they're sick. So when that child abuse pediatrician sees a medically fragile child, a child with bruises because they have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or some kind of chronic health condition, they don't say, oh, wow, this kid needs help. They go, cha-ching. This is the maximum amount of money we get. A kid that we can steal from their parents, place in another home, and then say, oh, they're sick.
And that's the thing is the foster care system is broken, and I've seen that up close.
Yep.
The adoption, the way that people adopt children, that's broken. And I don't know if y'all deal with that or not, but some folks I go to church with are wonderful folks. And most of them have adopted it. It's a ministry inside the church that I go to, and I love it. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But the hoops and the obstacles and the money that's involved. It goes back to it's almost like the bureaucracy that you're talking about that causes all of that is the same brokenness that I'm seeing on the other side.
It's the entire system. The first family that we heard about in Georgia was the Hernandez family, and we were told about the Hernandez family from the Williams family, who was one of the foster families that were taking care of their children, Emma and Aria. She notified DFACS and said, something is wrong with Emma. This doesn't look like abuse. This looks like Emma is unwell, that there's something wrong with her. And ultimately, DFACS responded by saying, your services are no longer needed.
After 13 plus years of being a foster family, they shut their home down for speaking out.
That's Ryan Ralston, also with Spike Cohen. YouAreThePower.net. You can always check out their information there. Let me ask you guys, if I do have a medically fragile child, do I have to make it a point to have everything documented? So if we ever have some sort of scenario where we end up at a children's hospital because, fell off a swing, like, what do I have to do to protect my family to make sure that this does not escalate? Like, is there any sort of protections in that regard?
Yeah, we like to tell families that are facing a situation like that, make copies of your pediatric records, have their moms make copies of the OBGYN records. Get statements from family, friends, because what you're going to encounter if you do have to go to a children's hospital is a child abuse pediatrician will not identify themselves as a child abuse pediatrician. So they're actually working behind the scenes once you walk into the children's hospital, working on the abuse allegations from Jump Street. So they're not going to tell you, oh, by the way, my name is Dr. So-and-so, I'm a child abuse pediatrician. What they're going to say is, my name is Dr. So-and-so, can you tell me what happened to your baby?
Yep.
And so there's this whole mechanism that's in place, this subset of mechanism that's in place at these hospitals with social workers, rapid response teams from DFACS that are working with a child abuse pediatrician, and the parents don't know this is going on, simultaneous to, I just want to find out what's going on with my baby.
I've seen this play out in front of my own eyes now, reflecting back, going to pediatric doctors and pediatric hospitals when they come in, and my son at the time was probably 8th grade, 9th grade, somewhere in there, and he had a football injury.
Yep.
And they asked, I remember specifically, they asked him, have you been abused?
Yeah.
It was out loud. And I was just like, I remember being taken aback. I was like, wait a minute, we're here for a football injury. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of question is that? And I was even a little offended by it.
Yep.
And I discussed it with my wife, and we let it go. We didn't think anything else of it. And now all of a sudden, like, I feel like I've just zoomed back there and reliving that moment.
You were being investigated. And what's worse, and this is why Ryan is saying...
He was in a football uniform.
Yeah, no, exactly. By the way, Ryan is my national volunteer director, so any of the causes that we work on, including these ones, almost all of them basically filter through him first. But the reason that he said that you want to already have your records is because if you're accused of child abuse, those records get locked down and you're not allowed to access them, and you're going to have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to try to even get them, and you might not get them. Our system is not innocent until proven guilty. It's not even guilty until proven innocent. It's guilty, and you are not allowed to try to prove that you're innocent.
It's unbelievable. Talking to Spike Cohen and Ryan Ralston, National Director of You Are the Power. Can y'all stick around?
Cool, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Do one more segment, because I think people are in the blind about this. I don't think people know about this, and I'm sure you would agree with that. People have no idea that this is happening.
Oh, no. And you want to believe that it's not like this, because the alternative is you could be next.
You want to believe the best thing is happening in your state or in your country, and you know better.
Yep,
you
exactly.
know it's not. Your eyes and ears aren't lying to you.
Exactly.
We'll continue next on Extra 106.3. 404-741-1230 at Extra 106.3 across the social media platforms.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to Extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your sports headlines for Monday, March 3rd from Braves Spring Training. The team is in action this afternoon, this time from Port Charlotte, as they match up with the Tampa Bay Rays. First pitch is set for 1:05 this afternoon. You can check out that game on our sister station's app. 680 The Fan. The Atlanta Hawks, they're on the road tonight, taking on a 38-22 Memphis Grizzlies squad. The Hawks currently hold on to the 9th seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. That tip-off is set for 8 o'clock. And the NFL Combine has come to an end. The new league year set to begin for 2025 will begin on the afternoon of March 12th. With your headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
So now that we're going to have more daylight in the evening, right, as we shift to daylight saving time, you're going to be able to see your house in the evening, right? When it's 6 o'clock and you're pulling in and everybody's pulling into the garage and the driveway at the same time, They don't see your house at night. They just see what's lit up, and it makes it difficult. Now, with more light at night, they're going to be able to see that house that you live in. Are you going to be proud of it? Not that it matters what the neighbors think, but if they're thinking it, I bet you've thought it too. Yeah, the siding needs to be touched up. Yeah, the paint needs to be touched up. The roof, the roof is just so expensive. There's all kinds of things that you're going to start seeing, and especially as we start doing the spring cleaning, now is the time to call Southern Exteriors. 200,000 jobs. Let that sink in for a minute. I mean, that comes with some expertise, right? 200,000 jobs, 30 project managers handling any project that you need done, big or small, windows, doors, roofing, siding, gutters, screen in the porches. They can get it done right. And right now, they're making you an offer that is unbeatable for your home, your biggest asset. 0% financing for 12 months, 10% off any job. You choose which one you want. 877-9-SOUTHERN is their number, or you can visit them on the web at southernexteriors.co. Again, it's southernexteriors.co.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. At A Second Chance Bail Bonds, we believe everyone deserves a second chance. We handle bonds from local to federal for any jail in any city. And in most cases, we can have you or your loved one out of jail in a matter of hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT. That's 404-BAIL-OUT. Or online at atlbail.com.
Atlanta Braves fans, May is Military Appreciation Month and a great time to show your patriotism by purchasing a VIP table at the Warrior Alliance 4th Annual Veteran Impact Awards and Gala. The event will be held on Thursday, May 22nd at the Coca-Cola Roxy Theater at the Battery Atlanta and features dining, live entertainment, and Georgia-based veterans being honored for the significant contributions they are making in our communities. Purchase your VIP table today or make a donation at thewarrioralliance.org.
Neil Borch here. Maybe you've already taken the steps to improve your health, maybe save your life. You're using a CPAP for your sleep apnea. I've been using one for well over 20 years. So right now I'm here to tell you about a source for CPAPs and CPAP supplies here in the Atlanta area. CPAPs, etc. They're in Alpharetta. They have whatever you need. Roddy and Sharon are your CPAP experts, and they'll ship nationwide. More information, CPAPs.com.
The Atlanta Braves Spring Training Series Behind the Braves, presented by Global Payments, is back for the 5th season. Hear from your favorite players and meet the new faces as they get to work at spring training in preparation for the 2025 season. Plus, enjoy exclusive interviews and go behind the scenes to see the team like never before. New episodes drop each week on youtube.com/Braves and locally on Peachtree TV and Atlanta's CW. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves country.
Did you know that over 85% of grass-fed beef in stores is imported? Since the repeal of the country of origin labeling law in 2015, meat packaged in the United States can be labeled product of the U.S., even if it was born, raised, and harvested overseas. This is why I'm a big fan of GoodRanchers.com, the brand committed to 100% American meat. All of their products are born, raised, and harvested here in the U.S., free from antibiotics, added hormones, and seed oils. When you buy from Good Ranchers, you're supporting American farmers and ranchers who have fed this country for generations. And at GoodRanchers.com, you can also check out my exclusive box, try my hand-picked selections, support my show, and directly support American ranches. Go to GoodRanchers.com/Beck and shop for my box today. Plus, right now, if you subscribe, you'll get free ground beef, chicken breast, or salmon in every box for a year and $25 off with the promo code Beck. Visit GoodRanchers.com. Shop, subscribe, and stand with American ranches and values. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered.
Accounting Officer, Tucker, Georgia. MTV Food Enterprises, LLC is seeking an account officer with a focus on accounting at our 20-plus locations. Manage all aspects of financial operations, including budgeting, forecasting, and expense control. Monitor sales, expenses, and cash flow. Implement and enforce accounting policies and procedures. Conduct regular audits to verify the integrity of financial transactions. Oversee inventory management processes. Manage payroll processing. Coordinate with external tax advisors. File tax returns. Analyze financial data. Prepare financial reports. Bachelor's degree in accounting, finance, or business, and 2 years related experience. Resumes to Zane Virani, 1888 Ford Street, Tucker, GA 30084.
The Extra 106.3 app is your live connection to the station, streaming free across Georgia. But it's also loaded with all our original shows and podcasts. Listen to exclusive shows from Janelle King, Ben Burnett, and so many more. Grab the Extra 106.3 app now and start streaming.
Our guest this morning, Spike Cohen and Ryan Ralston. He is the national director of You Are the Power. It's a fascinating conversation that we've been having about how parents are being taken advantage of, basically for money. That's what's happening. Parents are being taken advantage of, and their kids taken away from them for money. We made a comparison a little bit ago, and that was the FBI and not doing what they're supposed to be doing up in, with the Epstein files. And I think we all agree that nothing's going to happen there, unfortunately. But it's kind of the same thing. Ryan, you're saying you delivered a subpoena.
I did.
On behalf of a family.
Yes.
And the people that you delivered it to acted like it just didn't even happen. Kind of the same way that the FBI is doing up in that Southern District of New York.
Absolutely. Just flat out ignore the subpoena.
I think most people, when they hear that, they're like, how can that be so? If we're a nation of laws, then how can you just ignore the law?
Right. Yeah.
How does it happen? And especially on a state level like it is in Georgia.
Right. Yeah. The judge over the case didn't hold him accountable, and that's what it boils down to. Is the judge has the lawful authority to enforce that subpoena and to hold that entity accountable for not delivering those records that were under subpoena, and it didn't happen. And so that's that lack of accountability that continues to empower people to ignore a subpoena.
Yeah, we're not a nation of laws. We're a nation of people. And here's how the power of the people works. That judge in that case literally was ignoring, refused to allow the testimony and evidence from medical professionals, actual medical experts who were saying that Emma Hernandez had actual medical problems explaining these injuries. And instead, she took the word of a so-called child abuse pediatrician whose only evidence was that, statistically, when I see these kinds of injuries, they tend to be abuse. And when the Hernandez attorney said, okay, what's your source of that statistic? They said, you can look it up on the internet. And the judge, so here's how this changes. The judge took that over the actual experts. And then after several thousand You Are the Power members and followers contacted that judge and everyone else involved and told them what they think, that judge inexplicably did a complete 180 and basically closed out the Hernandez case and said, as soon as the criminal charges are dropped, I'll do the final bit and you can get your kids back. The kids are back. Emma and Aria are back with family. And once those charges are dropped, then they'll be able to be back in the home for at least almost a year now. Matt and Tucky Hernandez have been able to live together as husband and wife again after being estranged from one another for the better part of a year, right?
Almost 10 months.
Yeah. And is that not the horror? Spike Cohen and Ryan Ralston are our guests. That it's obviously if you have a medically fragile child, okay, that child might be seized by the state,
right?
But that doesn't end with just that child. No. Like it's then now the entire home is being looked at and the breakup of the entire family.
Yep. No, they're destroying families for funding, and this is the and I encourage my my conservative friends who at least understand at its base that government is something that must be restrained. But
at all costs.
At all costs. But very often what happens, and I say this as a recovering conservative, I'm a libertarian, that what happens is it's very easy to convince us that there's this national outrage or this national threat, and we have to have a national response, or we have to have a strong government response. The problem is the people doing it are the people who watched someone try to assassinate Donald Trump and did nothing. They're the people who know who's on that Epstein list and are going to do everything they can to stop it, precisely because that Epstein list exists for them to blackmail people. These are the same people that allow that directly fund terrorist groups and drug cartels. They're not on our side, and the more power you give them, the worse it's going to get.
Can I throw myself under the bus? Because
yes.
By all means, please. You're in the right place.
No, because I think
we do this to each other regularly.
No, but it's the truth. I think most people believe, or have been taught to believe, that we're doing the right thing. The government's doing the right thing, and the agencies are doing the right thing. And Donald Trump's first term showed me. That's when it really started to open my eyes. Like, wait a minute, they're defying everything he says, and it's all built in. And Los, I thought, brought up such a great point. He's like, they give him 4 years to prep and prepare this time, and it's not happening at least nearly as much. And he's fighting, or feels like he's fighting back more than he had the opportunity the first time. But we've been conditioned to believe that the government's good and the government's on our side.
Yeah.
We've been conditioned for my whole life. I've been conditioned.
So Donald Trump came to the Libertarian Convention last May and made a lot of promises, some of which he's already kept, like freeing Ross Ulbricht, which was incredible. He was a Trump. He presented himself as a Trump that finally understood that the deep state needed to be stopped and how it needed to be stopped. Now, there's also the Donald Trump who let Anthony Fauci run the country for about 6 months in 2020. So which Trump are we getting? I think that question is largely going to be answered by how he responds to this bill that's working its way through Congress, which actually increases the national debt by $20 trillion more over the next 10 years and is actually worse than what Biden left them. If that, and all the agencies we're talking about, all of the deep state, everything else, any of these cuts that DOJ is proposing are completely more than offset, 10 to 100-fold by this budget. If this budget is something that Donald Trump embraces, you're getting 2020 Donald Trump. You're not getting 2024 or 2025 Donald Trump.
Which should be upsetting to both. And I heard Thomas Massie say something very similar to that. When he said, if this had been done under Biden, the right would be losing their mind. And rightfully so. And are not right now, which is the frightening thing to me, because I believe a guy like Thomas Massie. I trust him.
There was one Republican. Now, all the Democrats voted against it because they're Democrats.
But that's just politics.
Yeah, it's politics. One Republican voted against it, Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is our generation's Ron Paul.
Yes.
Including having a lot of Republicans attacking him for being a rhino and not being on the agenda or whatever. We look back. Ron Paul was right about literally everything he said. Every single thing he said and warned about happened in real time. And I was one of those former neocons who used to go after him in 2001 and 2002. How dare you not want to be behind stopping the terrorists? He was right 100%. I was woefully wrong. I'm not going to be wrong this time. Thomas Massie is right. Anyone, including Trump, if they are going against what Thomas Massie is saying on Capitol Hill, they're in the wrong and will be proven in being in the wrong very soon.
That's Mike Cohen. Ryan Ralston is our guest right here on the Morning Extra. And I want to ask you guys, because I have a very simple view now of how I look at the government. I look at it like a rabid dog that I just don't want it to get a hold of me in any way possible. And I don't care if that's medically. I don't care if that's my kids. I don't care if it's taxes, because I look at it just as we talked about. You're looking to restrict the size and the strength of government. And if you can stay off the radar, that's probably a better life for you. No matter what, however they get involved, you want to stay off that radar.
Yeah. The two filters I encourage people to go through. Rabid dog's a good one, too. I might add that as a third. The two filters.
Trust me, Spike. I get stolen from everyone these days. Travis.
I steal the best ideas. The first filter I encourage people to use is one that I had said before about, like, do you think this problem is best solved by politicians and bureaucrats and law enforcement and cronies?
Absolutely not.
The other filter is this power or the agency that's being proposed or that exists. Picture the politician that you hate the worst, that you distrust the most. Do you want them to have that power? If you do, which eventually that will happen because it's constantly shifting between the parties. If the answer is you do not want them to have that power, then you don't want the people that you like to have it either. Because the bottom line is, power corrupts, so even the person you like might use it wrong.
Money corrupts.
And two, they're not we're seeing this with the Epstein thing. It's not them doing it. It's the exact same bureaucrats that are doing it, no matter who's in office. So and rabid dog's probably the simplest one to use. It's like, do you want this to? Who do you want a rabid dog to be used against? The most dangerous people on earth. But if you then find out that rabid dog is actually friends with those dangerous people
and turned on you,
and that they're the ones that are holding the leash.
It's weird how it bit me.
Yeah. Why does this rabid dog keep biting me? And then
I want to go back to just quickly. youarethepower.net. That's where you can find the things, the topics that we're talking about this morning, and parents being taken advantage of, and how horrible and horrendous this is.
Yeah.
Are there any doctors on the right side of this?
There are. They're few and far between because they're getting ostracized within their own medical communities. So,
kind of like during COVID when doctors would say,
like during COVID.
You don't need the vaccine, masks don't work, and then they were just being ostracized.
Right.
Exactly like during COVID.
We're having to go outside of Georgia. Sometimes we're having to go outside the United States to find doctors who are on the right side of medicine here. And so their reputations are being attacked. Anytime that they speak out against a child abuse pediatrician, and that's what's alarming as well, because they're bucking the status quo, and as a result, their reputation is being harmed. So for cases like this, where a medical expert might cost $10,000 to $15,000, a lot of the times we'll work with those doctors, and they will reduce the cost or outright just do it pro bono. We have doctors that are working with families in California, doctors that are working with families in Indonesia, doctors that are working with families in the Netherlands. We have doctors from Illinois. We have doctors from Tennessee, Texas. So like there are doctors who are speaking out against this, but they're because they're being ostracized within the medical community, their reputations are being harmed and ability to make a living is being harmed as well.
And that's the wild part about it is that we saw this during COVID, that it wasn't just, hey, we're going to harm your reputation. Then it turned into, well, we're going to strip you of your license.
Yeah, that's
and
exactly
so that's the danger of how it goes.
Yeah, and we're going to call you the person that was responsible for mass
Killing
deaths.
grandma.
Now there's a lot of really good. And we started by saying this, so I want people to understand this. And again, this is the power of the people. With all of the public pressure that's been on people like Candace Brochi, who runs the DFACs here in Georgia, and the other people, the other officials that are involved. What was it, last week or the week before? DFACs under Candace, she is now backing. She has actually put out a memorandum that said basically all the things that we've been pushing for are now going to be implemented and enforced. The biggest one being that parents must be allowed to seek a second opinion, and that the foster care parents, if they decide that there might need to be a second opinion, can also seek it. So that's already happening and being enforced. And like Ryan had said, Matt Brass has introduced legislation which we expect to pass through committee that would make that law that they would have to.
Spike, is that because they sense the shifting sands,
Yes.
or is it because they're doing the right thing?
Well, so in my role, I like to use a carrot as much as stick. So I'd like to think, I hope that it's that they finally found out.
Sure, I hope so.
And she watched the Help That Harms documentary that Rebecca Lindstrom with 11 Alive. She had already watched the pre-screening. I would like to think that it's that she and other people in the agency watched that documentary and said, "My gosh, I can't believe that's happening here, and we're going to fix it." If it's that instead that it was the public pressure that was applied, then so be it. Whichever it is, I'll use carrots and sticks all day long. I just want us to be moving in the right direction.
Spike Cohen, Ryan Ralston of youarethepower.net. Thank y'all, man. God bless you for what you're doing.
God bless you.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us on.
Absolutely. Always welcome back to when we continue on Extra 106.3. 6 o'clock hours brought to you by Subaru of Gwinnett. We're going to get you a Fox News update, and then when we get back into the show, Trump will not bend the knee to the globalists. And that's the thing I think I love about him the most, is the fact that he is not willing to say, yeah, we'll bend. We're not going to do that. And he proved it on Friday. That's next on the Morning Extra. Tug and Los until 10.
I get a surprising amount of blowback from wonderful listeners who think that I'm a little rough on the media. Okay, I'm listening. Tell me how the press isn't biased.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
You know the old expression, I love it when a plan comes together? Well, with our First Liberty Notes, this has been so true. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about our family's company all the time right here on the station. For over 30 years, we've been the local lender who said yes when the big banks say no. A couple of months ago, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Folks from airline pilots to physicians to even pastors are now earning 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of local small businesses. If you're a qualified investor with a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty Notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty Notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. SEC accredited investor status must be verified. Securities not offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, VanSantLaw.com.
We're at a crossroads in history. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Britain's Prime Minister says as Keir Starmer and other European leaders work out an outline for a plan to help Ukraine end the war with Russia.
The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air, together with others. Europe must do the heavy lifting.
Ukraine's president was there at those talks in London after Friday's meeting with President Trump fell apart at the White House as the two presidents argued, and a U.S.-Ukraine minerals deal as part of war-ending talks was never signed.
President Volodymyr Zelensky says he does think his relationship with the U.S. can be repaired, and he remains ready to sign the minerals deal. He's still adamant, though, about having security guarantees, saying any ceasefire without those is dangerous for Ukraine. Zelensky adds, we've been fighting for 3 years, and Ukrainian people need need to know that America is on our side. But several Trump administration officials say a reset is necessary before talks can resume again.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. Israel and Hamas are at odds again as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blocks the entry of food and humanitarian supplies for Palestinians in Gaza.
It uses these supplies to finance its terror machine, which is aimed directly at Israel and our civilians. And this we cannot accept.
Hamas is calling it a war crime as the U.S. pushes a plan to extend the just-ended first phase of the Gaza ceasefire, trying to get more hostages released. They handed out the Oscars last night on ABC, and this movie was the big winner.
Honora. Sean Baker!
Honora won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Baker won for Best Director.
And Best Actress for Mikey Madison. The Brutalist won 3 awards, including Best Actor for Adrian Brody. Wicked won 2 awards. Amelia Perez also picked up 2 awards, including Best Supporting Actress for Zoe Saldana. And Kieran Culkin won his first Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in A Real Pain.
That's Fox's Michelle Polino. America's listening to Fox News.
You've likely heard about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too, with their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally, developed by doctors. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Get the Extra 106.3 app.
Yeah, I got your app. I live out here 30 miles west of Augusta. I'm so glad Conservative Talk is back on the air.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. We've just been having this great discussion about the telepathy tapes. And a friend that I've met through social media, and we had exchanged texts and that sort of stuff, had brought this up to me August of last year. I was looking back at my notes and my messages, and he said he lit up when Lowe's brought it up on the show because he works at an autism center over in Norcross. And so if you don't know what we're talking about, telepathy tapes, Lowe's, I'll let you explain it because you're the expert on it. You've already watched it. I just know of it.
I just exposed to it.
Exposed. Okay, better.
So I was watching a random episode of Joe Rogan, and I tell you, when it's the comedians, they get like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
When it's the politicians, they may get like 45 minutes. They had a documentary filmmaker, and she made a 10-part series. You can find it through most anywhere you get a podcast. It's a 10-part podcast, and it's called The Telepathy Tapes. And she was on Rogan explaining what she did. And 20 minutes in, I'm saying, I don't understand anything she's talking about. Maybe I should go listen to this podcast. Took me about, 20 minutes of the first episode. I'm like, I'm locked in. I got through all 10 episodes in like 2 days, maybe 2.5 days. What it talks about is, especially young people, non-speakers with autism, and the way that they are able to communicate with the world. And in some ways, they're able to access caregivers, their family members, and get access to whether it's their vision or whether it's their thoughts, or be able to go to them in dreams. It's all these ways that they're able to communicate when you can't use your regular language. And so it's fascinating, the tests that they do early on to show you this is what's actually happening. And so to then hear from a couple people locally that say, I work with young people with autism, yeah, this is legit.
So fascinating.
Pretty amazing.
And I think the conversation that we hope to have with Austin Moore on Friday will be eye-opening for a lot of people. I have a nephew who's autistic, and he's the smartest kid in the world. He just struggles to be able to communicate it. And it's so clear, how much he reads, how he interacts, the things that he does, and he just struggles to communicate with it. And I talked to Austin about my nephew Aaron a bunch of times. And so now it's, I guess it's in the good Lord's time, because if it were in my time, it might not ever happen.
Well, I'm a little embarrassed that it took a podcast and me listening to 15, 20 minutes of a person. Now, that was, again, when you get things you don't just know. Sometimes it's just out there in the world.
Sure.
Where I went, what this woman is bringing up, I want to look more into it.
Yeah.
And then I burned through 10 hours of her podcast, her season 1, and said, I want to know even more than this.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It really is.
And we talked about it when we were saying, 1 in 36 now?
Yeah,
Children born with
I think
some
so.
form of autism that are somehow on the spectrum. Now, obviously, when you're non-speaking, that's some of the most severe stuff. That's my nephew. So that is where you're trying to unlock so much of these people's voices. And so if you're looking for something, not during our show,
yes,
we'll bring it to you later.
Yeah, that's right.
But if you're
Don't
looking for
abandon
something to do, that again, telepathy tapes, and it was awesome in that a few of the episodes are focused on people here in Atlanta.
Yes,
and some of the stories of what they had experienced.
And Austin had
it's
worked with them directly.
Yeah, he knew a couple of different people that are in episodes 3 and 4.
So the place that Austin is called Recliff, RECLIF, recliff.com. It's in Peachtree Corners. So that's where all this bubbled up from, if you heard us talking about it last hour, and we're going to continue speaking about it.
So later this week when Tug does his homework,
yes, that's right.
When he starts texting me saying, thank you for giving me this gift, like, I didn't do it. It came from the Muse. The Muse said, hey, check into this. You might like this.
That's right. And then Austin has been pushing me to do it too. So
I mean, let's face it. I'm into, like, at times, I know that we joke around about aliens or...
Yeah, sure.
All right. I like the unexplained aspects of science.
And let me tell you.
Or science that's rejected.
Some of the, exactly. I don't know if you said it or not, but just briefly before we jump into
Trump and what he's been telling the globalists.
Absolutely, which is basically GFY. But anyway, explain some of the connection with people, parents or caregivers, how autistic kids can communicate with them without words. And it's almost on a different wavelength.
It's on a different wavelength. I've now had to go along with what Austin's pointing out. That's now the second person here locally who works with these children, worked with these young people who've told me, no, this is true, that they're able to telepathically pass along messages to people. And it's part because they can't speak. Now, you will have science that'll tell you that's not possible.
Right?
Telepathy is not true. When you watch these, when you listen to this podcast or you see any of the videos of what they're doing, you will say the only explanation is that they're accessing information from somebody else.
Right, a different wavelength. And
then you thought it, so now I know it.
That's right. And it's unbelievable. I believe there's no doubt in my mind that this is possible. Zero doubt in my mind.
One of the things they get into is they talk about some of the caregivers, some of the teachers that work in the industry. And one of them, I think she said that she keeps saying in her brain the word like pumpkin. Something like that. And the reason why she does it is because when she asks a question, she doesn't want to think of the answer. She wants her student to come up with it on their own. So she has to blank out her own mind
because the
student will access it.
Dude, it's so fascinating.
So check into it. That'll be for later this week.
As a guy of faith, I have no doubt in my mind that God is able to work and makes these miraculous things happen. And it's probably not the way that you expect them to. It goes against what you see in the world every day and what you're told in the world every day. I think there's just a whole different. That's why I believe in angels. I believe in the devil.
Well, there's a lot of stuff you have to take on faith.
You absolutely do. And I would say even a step further is some people say science disproves faith. I disagree. I think it actually will ultimately prove faith.
I think one of the things that you'll take away from this as you get into it, hopefully today, maybe tomorrow.
No, definitely on the way home. First episode on the way home.
One of the things that will hit you is that just because you can't see it, just because modern science has not told you this is the way it is, that is the epitome of faith in recognizing that for the children that are the subjects of this podcast, you will recognize that there's something amazing going on with them that goes out of the realm of your level of, I've been told this or I've seen this myself.
If anything, and these have nothing to do with each other, but if anything, that whole COVID thing, when they were like, trust the science, trust the science, trust the science.
Oh, science can go kick rocks for all I care at this point.
Absolutely.
I'm interested in alternative answers.
No question, because the science gets it wrong so much. I'm not saying there's not a place for science.
Well, the science is authoritarian.
There's a difference, right? There's actual science. What are we trying to prove? And there's never a settled science. It doesn't exist. That's the whole point of science.
Science should
not
be
settled.
questioning things all the time. In fact, I love when someone will commit a study and somebody will say, well, why'd you do that? That didn't work. And they'll be like, yes, I proved it didn't work.
Yeah, right. Which is the whole point.
That's the science.
That's the science. Exactly right, man.
Why did you try that? You knew it wouldn't work. No, I didn't, but now I do know.
Now I know. And now I'm on to the next thing. I love that. Question everything. And I think that's built in, at least to you and I. That question everything is built in. And it's funny. My wife, sometimes she was like, why don't you just say okay? And I was like, I can't. It's not in me to just say okay. I have to know why. There has to be a reason. What is the reason that got me to here, and what's the reason that's going to get me over there?
Okay just ends arguments for me.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Just too tired.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. I'm exhausted. Okay. Whatever.
Okay.
I have that same response, dude. And sometimes it gets me in trouble.
And then they know it too. They know what you're up to.
Yes.
Why aren't you arguing with me?
Well, that and tone. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's the end. That's
the defeated. Okay.
Yeah.
We've all done it, gentlemen. And some ladies. Okay.
It's the end all be all because you're just done talking. Not that you're conceding at all. You're just saying, I'm done arguing with whatever this is, this topic that we're talking about. I'm exasperated, and we can go no further because we're just going in circles.
I like to look at it. The parlay is over. I'm not saying I'm flying the white flag, but I'm not far behind.
That's right.
Just done with this discussion.
Donald Trump, on the other hand, not flying a white flag whatsoever. The globalists are in a panic. The globalists don't know what to do because they need America to do anything.
We have two sides of this right now. We can go through some of the polling that came out over the weekend where Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are as popular as any politicians we've had in the last 30 years, in part because how they treated Zelensky in the Oval Office on Friday. Then you'll have the other side that'll tell you, well, this is a terrible idea. Look what's going on in Europe. I'm telling you, we may have lost Europe already. We'll get into that a little further. But I want you to take a listen to Donald Trump. After that meeting in the Oval Office, after then you saw Zelensky run to the European Union, everybody there say, will you please pay me money? And some that agreed then also said, yeah, but we still need the U.S. Take a listen to how Donald Trump sees this.
I refuse to bend the knee to their next endless war in Ukraine. I want peace. They want money and they want conflict, even if it means walking us into the brink of World War III, which frankly it is doing.
God. I'm so proud to have a president.
The knee.
Yeah, well, that too. But I'm just proud to have a president that's like, no. This isn't right. Joe Biden and whoever puppeteered Joe Biden would have laid down, rolled over like a dog doing tricks. And Donald Trump refuses to. And I'm finally glad to have that standing up for me and my country and my family and hopefully keeping my kid out of a conflict in Europe or even China.
Can I put on my tinfoil hat?
Sure, of course.
Jara, do I got the tinfoil hat back there? Do you got that? You can hand it on.
Get a hand, and there you go.
Thank you. Thank you for the tinfoil hat. We have had the warning since the 1950s of the military-industrial complex. After we finished off with what our actions in Korea, obviously with World War II, and we were relatively quiet throughout the remainder of the 1950s. It took into the early 60s where you had a John F. Kennedy who was not interested in an escalation of a war in Vietnam. Now, is that the reason why he ends up taking a bullet in Dallas?
Possible.
We knew that there were forces. We knew about, Operation, what was it, Redwoods or whatever. We were looking to cause a scenario in which we could then attack the Cubans because of what we believed that they were involved in and what they would do to us. All right, fast forward. You've had, under almost every president moving forward, some major conflict somewhere around the world. Except this is where you've actually had somebody in Donald Trump who in 2016 to 2020, it was a quiet world. He even got the North Koreans to stop firing missiles. You now have him trying to quiet the world again. And so it's basically the military-industrial complex, the globalist movement versus nationalist Trump. That's it. Those are the two sides. It's like, which one do you want? Do you hate Trump so much that the idea of war around the world is some great alternative idea?
Yes. And unfortunately, I saw my Aunt Peg this weekend with her I Stand With Ukraine little frame on Facebook.
I like butchering millions of people.
That's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to say to her.
I love a human blender that kills Russians and Ukrainians alike, that has eliminated a generation of Ukrainian men.
Talking about being exasperated, right? That would be the conversation at the end of it. I'd just be like, okay. You're not going to listen. You're going to fight this because you've been told to every day on MSNBC and CNN and The View. That's where her worldview comes from, and I love her dearly, but I just want to shake her by the shoulders and be like, wake up. What are you doing? Wake up. How do you not see this? And there's so many. Like, I've gotten to the point, and this, call me a wimp.
Oh,
just call me bad names, whatever you want. I've just got to the point, where you can mute things on social media where it just doesn't even pop up? I've got about 5 people that I hold dear. I just mute them because I don't want to say it triggers me because it doesn't. It just makes me roll my eyes and makes me think less of them. And I don't want to do that.
I enjoy them because then it always gives me the perspective of what they're crazy thinking. For instance, you have a bunch of the far left out there over the weekend. Oh, they were trying to talk about how much they've stepped up for Ukraine. Mm-hmm. One of the things that they were trying to push was, well, look how much aid that Europe has given Ukraine versus the United States. First off, we have given, when it comes to military assets, it's not even quantifiable, the difference.
Not even in the
two.
Same ballpark.
And then when it comes to money that was not attached, it essentially came across as a grant, because that's the way that Zelensky called it. These were not loans. Europe offered loans. So when you just break it down, we're offering 4 times as much without strings attached than Europe was. And yet they're trying to say, look how Europe kept up. Look what they're offering the Ukrainians loans. That's what they're doing. We offered them actual money.
And I want you to hear Marco Rubio, because he said it so right. He said we should be happy that we've got a president stopping wars. We can't stop them if we aren't negotiating. And he nails it here. Listen.
What is the United Nations for? Isn't it not a forum to promote peace in the world? And shouldn't we all be happy that we have a president who's trying to stop wars and prevent them instead of start them? And I just don't get it. I really don't, other than the fact that it's Donald J. Trump. If this was a Democrat that was doing this, everyone would be saying, well, he's on his way to the Nobel Peace Prize. This is absurd. We are trying to end a war. You cannot end a war unless both sides come to the table, starting with the Russians. But the president's crystal clear. He campaigned on it, and he's going to govern on it. And that is, he is going to be a president that tries to achieve peace, and he has been very clear this is a war that would have never happened had Donald Trump been in the White House, and it needs to end, and we're going to do everything we can to end it in an enduring and sustainable and fair way.
Super succinct, super to the point, and dead on. He couldn't be more correct. Yet, what he said that stood out to me the most, the kind of the waving flag was, if it were anyone but Donald Trump. And that's the truth.
It's the hatred.
It's that they despise him so much that they will cut off their own nose to spite their face.
When it makes sense in their best interests, they'll still argue against it because it's Donald Trump. And I saw the meme over the weekend, and it's an extreme, but it is funny. Has Donald Trump coming out for air, and liberals are putting their heads into plastic bags.
Yeah, hold your breath.
I'm against air.
Yeah, that's right. See, but you say it's extreme. I don't know that it is.
How far off is it really?
Not
that
very
you
much.
will do damage to your own country, your own cause, your own nation, and eventually your children and your grandchildren's future. But as long as it's against Orange Man bad, that's worth it to you.
I've got a cut.
How is that mature?
How
is that a good world view?
It's not. But they don't care. The politicians and the left, the communists, they've spun their minions up so much that they're willing to say, I'm against air because I hate Donald Trump. And all the while, these politicians and the people that are pushing this nonsense, they're willing to let them suffocate.
I tell you, there's only 2 things in this world that I hate. There is terrorism and there is cancer. 2 things, no matter what, hate. Everything else I'm pretty pliable on. In fact, I love pretty much everything else. All right, if that's my worldview, and I'm saying we don't need to have wars that we're involved in this way, this proxy wars where we're seeing people butchered on each side, how is that somehow some defiant, awful worldview to say we need to have it come to an end in the interest of humanity?
There's nothing bad about what you just said. And the fact
how does that make me the Orange Man bad a-hole?
Because you're not into that place where you've been taught and told he is the devil. The stakes are so high.
Hitler's so dangerous, he wants to end war.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they hate him so bad, they can't see past their own hatred to say this is actually a good thing. Just like Marco Rubio saying, why are we saying ending 2 wars is bad? Why?
I'm glad we have a professional out there like Marco Rubio.
Me too.
Part of the cabinet who, by the time he finishes spelling it out, There's not a whole lot even the network analyst can say other than, all right, Marco, thank you for your time.
Exactly. I got no response. Let me just get you off the air because you're making too much sense.
Thank you, Senator Rubio.
Yeah. Have a nice day. And that was Stephanopoulos who was talking to, obviously, a Democrat operative and somebody that's just unable or unwilling to listen to the facts because he is on the other side and he has TDS like nobody else. Trump rightfully lost it on Zelensky, but 3 years ago, someone else in the White House lost it too. Maybe you'll remember this. I bet not, because it wasn't talked about very much. We'll bring light to it next on the Morning Extra.
Hey, it's the Kimmer. Look out. The Kimmer Show is live every afternoon from 3 to 6, just like the Kimmer.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
On a lighter note, some people are still romantic, Kimmer, and I have right now. It's a continuing series of love for environmentalists and Valentine's cards you can send to someone who cares about the environment.
About the earth and the air and water and the cleanliness of our planet. Well, that's a very basic. Yes, sir. For example, what do you do?
Our love is like a bog.
A bog?
It's built up over time, resistant to decay, and deeply interesting to just a small number of people.
Is it a bog where it has like quicksand and you sink into the marsh? Isn't that what a bog is? My God. yeah, how romantic. See, I was right.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Master Plan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Master Plan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, remember to plan well, because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. You know, a great smile can make you more successful as well as make you happy. Yes, it's true. And your smile's waiting for you at my dentist, Dr. Dina Giesler, my friend for 30 years and dentist forever. This woman at Atlanta Smiles, atlantasmiles.com, the dentist with a doggy. It's really true, whether it's just regular cleaning or bridges or crowns or are your teeth bothering a little bit, maybe a little ache or something, or your gums it's not going to get better on its own. Take it from me, I found that out the hard way. Taking care of your teeth and gums, and everybody's happy. And by the way, you can relax with Dr. Dina. This is an individual, private VIP experience. The latest technology. She used AI to get my last thing done at my last visit. And don't forget the doggy. She's a little doggy to take a nap in your lap while you're getting your work done. And this staff, these ladies are angels, I promise you. You'll love going there. A veteran herself, Dr. Dina, 10% veterans discount off the top. Tell them when you call. 404-262-7733. Your smile's waiting. Get the doggy, atlantasmiles.com.
Taxes was taxing. Now taxes is relaxing when you file for free.
I can file for free? TurboTax Free Edition. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. I can file for free.
Now this is taxes. File for free with TurboTax Free Edition and get your maximum refund. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, and student loan interest. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 3 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffers from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. We provide testosterone replacement therapy, the P-shot, and treatment for ED, PE, and Peyronie's disease. There's not just one therapy that can solve these complex issues. When you visit our clinic, you're going to see me me. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. 404-777-1911. Total Body Therapy of Georgia. 404-777-1911. Online at tbtofga.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Good morning. Here are your headlines for Monday, March 3rd. A 5-week-old baby girl is now safe with her mother after an Amber Alert on Sunday. Police say Milan Thompson was abducted by her father but returned after the alert. Police are still searching for the father, Jamail Darcel Simpson, a 29-year-old man believed to be driving a blue Jeep Grand Cherokee. Anyone with information is encouraged to call the Johns Creek Police Department. 4 people are dead after an overnight accident in West Georgia. The Georgia State Patrol says the driver of a Nissan Altima ran a red light and was struck by a GMC truck on the driver's side. All 4 of the occupants of the Nissan died on scene. The driver of the truck was transported to Wellstar, West Georgia with serious injuries. Today's weather starts with chilly temperatures in the mid-30s and eventually warms up to the low 60s with some clouds this afternoon. We'll have similar weather on Tuesday and a strong possibility of storms on Wednesday. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
7 o'clock hours brought to you by Van Sant Law Group. If you're in an accident, make the right call. VanSantLaw.com. Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. 404-741-1230 is the number. I'll tell you, there's people that are talking about how, Trump did it all wrong, lost his cool with Zelensky. How could it possibly be the case that he couldn't pull it together long enough to get the deal signed for the mineral rights in Ukraine, giving the United States a financial, a financial goal, a financial incentive, if you will, to help in Ukraine, to help more than we already had. And that's the other thing that irritates me, is because this is a good reason to help them, like as if we've not been helping them. That
as if it took their mineral rights for us to suddenly go, hey, you know how y'all should have gone down to the Russians 3 years ago, but we propped you up?
Yeah. Be nice if you said thank you, instead of going into the White House, into the Oval Office, and rolling your eyes and doing all those things that are just irritants to anyone and everyone, for that matter. And if you recall, Joe Biden let the dog, or the tail wag the dog, for 4 years. And Zelensky comes into the White House expecting that that's the same way it'll work again. I'm not convinced that he wasn't told to do this. There's a bit of me that thinks that he was like, here's what you need to do. You go in there and rattle that cage. Not because they wanted the best for Ukraine, because they wanted the worst for Donald Trump. That I believe happened. There's no reason. The deal was already agreed to. Everything was done. All Zelensky needed to do was go in there and sign up and be done. And they have a press conference at the end. They had lunch scheduled. They had the press conference scheduled. And no, he didn't do that. He decided not to. And there's not a bit of me that doesn't think there was somebody that said, here's what you do.
Would you say that if they were maybe some Democrat operatives that are not actually with official state capacity?
Could be. Maybe a Susan Rice type.
Is that a Logan Act violation? Yes. You're representing the American government on behalf of the American government, but you're not actually in the American government?
Seems odd that would happen.
I think General Flynn can tell you something about how this game gets played.
But so you're with me that something happened before the White House, because he met with the Democrats before he went into the White House, a couple hours before. And I don't know who was in that meeting. I'll never know. There's no reason for me to know.
There's just rumors of who was in there, who gave them a strategy session with the intention, I believe, of, well, you'll get more out of this. Like, play him against the American media. The Democrats continue.
And they know Trump is an emotional guy to begin with. He's always very level. He doesn't do anything they didn't mean to, but they wanted him to get spun up.
The Democrats understand the media. What I think they have yet to realize is the lack of ability for the media to influence the country any longer. The play there was to make Donald Trump look bad, and everyone around the country in the media say, look, we told you he's a moron.
Yeah.
And everyone it was supposed to fall in line with it. That is not what occurred. Again, some of the numbers that we're looking at polling-wise, J.D. Vance, that was important, he was part of that meeting, and Donald Trump came out looking even more favorable to the American people, and more of the working class was like, damn right we're not going to give you our money. If you are not, at the very least, appreciative, then you're not going to see a dime.
And you shouldn't. And that's the American people are right. They're not ignorant. They may not be the most well-educated. The education system under the Democrats is not where it needs to be, but they're not fools. And when I see people saying, I stand with Ukraine, that means you stand against the United States. That's what that's what it meant to me. When I saw my Aunt Peg, whom I love, put up her I stand with Ukraine, I'm like, okay, so you're saying you stand with Ukraine and that America needs to bend and break for them. When are you going to defend your own? Charity starts at home, Aunt Peg. And she just didn't see it that way. I'm going to take you back a couple years when Joe Biden had a conversation on the phone with Zelensky. And Joe is in full support of Zelensky and even got tired of it.
In this conversation, President Biden called President Zelensky to tell him about a roughly $1 billion package of additional equipment and weapons for the Ukrainian military coming from the United States. During the course of the call, President Zelensky continued to talk about the additional equipment and weapons and support that he and his military needed. President Biden finally just got frustrated and lost his temper and told President Zelensky, look, you could be a little bit more grateful.
Yeah, you could. And it showed up again this past Friday with the eye rolling, with the sighs. And I'm no lip reader, but I've seen it over and over and over again that in his native language, Zelensky called J.D. Vance a very...
He called him a female dog.
Yes. And put a big old F-bomb on the front of it. So if you go in and you're already, I'm going to rattle the cage, I'm going to get a reaction. You got exactly what you asked for, but then it blew up in your face because everybody saw that it was you, the aggressor, not the administration.
So when I need to get like a fun Friday afternoon, I can reach out to the wife and when Tug's available, say, hey, Tug and I are going to go get a beer. And my wife goes, okay, because it's Tug. Tug is a green light friend. Jerry, you're going to work your way in there.
Yeah, that's right. We'll get
green
you in there,
light
Jerry.
friend. There are red light friends and green light friends. There's some yellow friends in there where your wife goes, I don't know. What are y'all planning on doing? Green light friend is Tug. Doesn't matter what I propose. She's like, sounds good.
Oh.
We'll see you in a few hours. So that's a strategy that I've always used to get what I want. It's the same thing with Zelensky. Zelensky knows if I go in and I rattle cage and I complain and I cry, then this is what's going to happen. The American media and the American left will jump right on board with me and, hey, come on, Ukraine, let's go. And that's what they tend to do. They have not gotten the right temperature of the water now. That wasn't going to work. Yet they were told, hey, the same things you did with Biden, do this, it's going to work. It's not going to work on this administration. It's not going to work on this media any longer.
I'm convinced when they told Zelensky to do it, it wasn't for the betterment of Zelensky or his position or the Ukrainians because they don't care. It was how do we, because of our TDS, how do we tear down Donald Trump? How do we get him to melt down on national television in a worldwide audience because everybody that keeps up with politics, we're glued to it. How do we have him make a fool of himself? The only problem is everything went to plan except Donald Trump kept his composure and Donald Trump said what the American people were feeling.
Here's where the giant screw up. Here's how you knew it manifested into what it manifested into. There's one senator that's on the Republican side that wants to bomb everybody all the time. All right, Lindsey Graham has not met a nuclear reactor, a chemical weapons plant, an oil refinery that he doesn't want to bomb all across the world. But, hey, we're having a problem with the Iranians. We should bomb them. That's immediately Lindsey Graham's take. And it is so pro-military industrial complex. Lindsey Graham, within an hour of that Oval Office meeting, was like, not a dime for them anymore. Like, are you kidding? You lost Lindsey Graham with how you asked. He even recognized which way the wind was blowing. The warmonger himself was like, no more helping them.
That's right. That's when you know.
Do you realize how big of a screw up you have to be
to get him
to
off
get
your
Lindsey
team?
Graham to not say, hey, no more bombs for that guy?
Yeah, the neocon, the one that wants to bomb everybody, as Los is saying, and he's like, nah, I'm good. But the other part of that, Los.
Hey, we got a problem over in Europe. Bomb it. They're our allies, Lindsey.
You're not supposed to bomb the Eiffel
You're not supposed to bomb them.
That's right.
That's the mentality of that man, and he turned on Zelensky.
But the other thing that I noticed is you see how similar everything was in especially with American politicians, those on the left, the messaging was all the same. It was all the same, we stand with Ukraine, Trump screwed it up. It's almost like they had a coordinated message. They knew what they had sent Zelensky in to do. They knew what kind of response they were hoping to get. Though they didn't get it, and in that moment they thought they did. But every American saw it for what it was. But the leftists, they still had to send out their messages because they still had to get that narrative marching.
There was a coordinated effort, just as you pointed out, where there was a bunch of European leaders that all said the same thing, as if this was entirely planned. Hey, credit to Zelensky for going in there and basically bulldogging the situation.
But
he was in charge.
American politicians doing the same thing.
But we're talking about the same exact post on X.
Yeah.
Literally the same one across the world with leftist leaders. This was planned out on their part.
Telling you, everybody was in on it.
But they didn't recognize the backfire that was going to happen as quickly.
Zelensky didn't either. And that's why he was begging to get back in the White House. He had no idea. He had been told this is going to work.
Yeah.
And then when it blew
then
up
they'll
in his
give you
face,
aid.
Yeah, that's right. And you saw his ambassador, the woman sitting in the front seat with her hand in her face in her hand.
Yeah, like, oh my God, it's really happening.
This is
not going to plan.
Worse than I could have expected. And Zelensky, though in the moment didn't realize it, when he got kicked out of the White House, he was like, oh God, they've misled me again. And I've got to figure out how to get back in there. I've got to figure out how to fix this because I listened to them and it completely backfired.
The danger for him is when he's going to go home. The danger is if you already had a coup in 2014 that basically installed him in the current government, you don't think that country's capable of another one if they feel like we need peace with the Russians?
Yes.
Which was what their argument was in 2014.
A couple of the military leaders in Ukraine are talking about it now. They're talking about, hey, if we can't have elections, let's get him out of here. Let's just overthrow him. And he has the support of the Ukrainian people who do not support Zelensky. That's the other thing. I feel like the American people are overwhelmingly on Donald Trump's side this time. Because they're not listening to the mainstream media, Los. The odds and the numbers and the polling are all on Trump's side on this.
No, and this all goes back to what we've brought up in the past. Once you had a media that lied for the better part of 4 years and told you that Joe Biden was healthy and COVID was what it was, people no longer listen to the media. The legacy media is dead. Like, it exists, but it does not have the influence. We had the story last week. 31% of the American public believes the American media. It's the lowest of all time. And I ask you, who the hell are the 31%?
Yeah, of knuckleheads. They're the Tim Walz type people that just don't get it. Tim Walz still to this moment doesn't understand how he and Kamala Harris lost the election. I don't know how you're so naive or so blind, but he is, and you've seen him talking about it in the last week or so. It's the same way with the American media. They have no idea that they're not influencing anyone. I think the American people look at the American media and whatever they say, they go, I'm probably going the other direction.
CNN had a graphic over the weekend. And I'm not going to play the audio because it gets real convoluted, but I'll just tell you what the numbers were. You had 7% of the American population that felt we were doing too much to help Ukraine as of just a couple of years ago. It's now getting to the 41% range. It's going to be well over 50 after this. We have helped them too much. They are ungrateful. Here's what happens. And one of the core aspects of being an American is gratitude. It's appreciation. It's something that we have throughout our culture. We talk about it all the time. There's times where people will take advantage of you for that, but that's part of our culture. So to see it play out on the world stage, that you had a European leader walk into the Oval Office of all places
and demand
what he was demanding, like, that's behind closed doors, brother.
Yes.
You thought you were going to play our media and our administration this way.
First of all, the media is dead, so it's not going to work. Second of all, J.D. Vance even points it out. He's like, we're not doing this in front of camera. We're not doing this. We're not litigating this in front of the media.
No.
He's like, I understand what you're trying to accomplish.
I see your game you're playing here. It's not going to work. In fact, you can pound sand, kick rocks, and the back door is over here.
Get out.
As the same way that you had the Obama administration do this to Bibi Netanyahu, where they decided we're going to embarrass him. We're sending him out the back door. It's exactly what we were like, you know what? You can take the back door out of here now.
Get on out. And that lunch that's sitting here, we'll let the staffers eat it.
That's right.
Because we don't need you. You need us. We are providing everything that helps you exist as a country. Everything. You can rely on the Europeans, you're not getting anything, you're not going anywhere. That's why you had Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, tell in public, he was like, oh my gosh, we stand with Ukraine. And then he went on television to say, Zelensky better go back in there and mend this fence because
they need U.S. support.
We are a paper tiger. We cannot help you. He didn't say it, but he said it.
Too many programs that they have. Too many austerity programs. They can't afford military help. They can't afford their own protection.
And then choose not to. I don't know if you've read the story about the tank factory in Germany. The Germans wanted to build a tank factory. A citizen, I guess a citizen, a guy that is very concerned about the environment, and he was very concerned about the noise that building this tank factory would cause in his neighborhood. And so they didn't do it. So you're telling me it's too loud to defend our nation. Got it. That's what kind of help you're going to get from Europe. When we continue on Extra 106.3, stay in your lane. A slapdown of epic proportions. Next, you'll get a smile. You get a chuckle out of this on Extra 106.3.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your sports headlines for Monday, March 3rd from Braves Spring Training. The team is in action this afternoon, this time from Port Charlotte as they match up with the Tampa Bay Rays. First pitch is set for 1:05 this afternoon. You can check out that game on our sister station's app. 680 The Fan. The Atlanta Hawks, they're on the road tonight, taking on a 38-22 Memphis Grizzlies squad. The Hawks currently hold on to the 9th seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. That tip-off is set for 8 o'clock. And the NFL Combine has come to an end. The new league year set to begin for 2025 will begin on the afternoon of March 12th. With your headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
So now that
Don't miss the first MLB All-Star Week event at Truist Park as talent meets tradition in the 3rd annual HBCU Swingman Classic presented by T-Mobile and powered by the MLBPA Youth Development Foundation. Join fans, athletes, and alumni to watch Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. shine a light on 50 of the best young ball players from HBCUs around the country on baseball's biggest stage, July 11th at 7 p.m. Get your tickets today at allstargame.com/swingman.
Georgia is home to over 600,000 veterans who play an important role in strengthening our communities. The Warrior Alliance is recognizing these contributions at the 4th Annual Veteran Impact Awards and Gala on Thursday, May 22nd at the Coca-Cola Roxy Theater at the Battery, Atlanta. You may participate by nominating a Georgia veteran for their exceptional service after military service in categories such as first responder, healthcare, education, military spouse, and more. Go to thewarrioralliance.org today and submit your veteran nomination.
True Prep on Cobb Parkway is your one-stop shop for emergency preparedness supplies, including freeze-dried food, water filtration, first aid, and more. They also have a large selection of firearms, including a huge selection of AR-15s, firearm accessories, and ammo at the lowest prices around. They're locally owned and operated, and you can visit their store in Marietta on Cobb Parkway or online at trueprep.com. That's truprep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow at True Prep.
For half a century, glyphosate has affordably and effectively protected Georgia farmers' crops from invasive weeds. Without it, the impact would be felt beyond the fields, hitting Americans where it hurts, our wallets. That's why the Modern Ag Alliance advocates for farmers' continued access to essential crop protection tools so food prices don't rise even more. Get the facts at controlweedsnotfarming.com. Paid for by the Modern Ag Alliance in support of Georgia farmers.
A musician with technical knowledge can play all the right notes. But one who cares enough to play from the heart gives music soul. At Truist, we believe the same is true for banking. Because when you work with someone who knows a lot and cares even more, you're unstoppable. Truist, leaders in banking, unwavering in care. Start feeling unstoppable. Visit truist.com/care. Truist Bank, member FDIC, leading based on top 10 U.S. commercial bank.
Tired of financial uncertainty? Tune into Smart Income Radio and take control of your financial future. Whether you're gearing up for retirement, already retired, or looking to make smarter money moves, Smart Income Radio delivers the strategies you need to secure your wealth and future. Get expert insights, proven strategies, and practical advice to build, protect, and grow your wealth so you can enjoy the life you deserve. Smart Income Radio, Saturdays at 8 a.m. Plan smart, protect more, retire with confidence.
Americold Logistics LLC, Atlanta, Georgia, and any unanticipated locations throughout the U.S. seeks a data analyst, job code AF0225. Assist Americold's business leaders in their decision-making process through generation and interpretation of data. Requires masters in business analytics, computer science, mathematics, statistics, or related field of study, and 1 year of experience in job or as a data or business analyst. $90,958,000 to $112,736 per year. Email resume to Barbara Bishop at barbara.bishop@americold.com.
Live and local news talk continues at 3 p.m. with Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder. It's the Kimmer Show, only on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
In between us and the Kimmer Show, you get the Glenn Beck program for a couple hours, 10 to noon, then noon to 3. You get Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, the biggest show in all of conservative media. Almost 500 radio stations that you'll find that show on, including here in Atlanta on Extra 106.3. Glad that you're here. Once in a while, we'll bring up Charlemagne the God. He is a music show kind of guy.
It's a morning show.
It's a music.
It's a fun. I guess we would say morning variety. You get politics,
I think so.
You get entertainers, you get a little bit of everything.
But on predominantly music stations.
Sure.
Yeah, where we are talked throughout the day. He does a lot of talk in the morning, but it's surrounded by music, and that's. Usually they don't dig really deep into politics because they don't want to alienate half their audience. They don't want to give the actual opinion. Charlemagne's a little different. Yeah. He does.
They'll dive in a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And he has in the past made it a point when it was waste, fraud, abuse. He's like, I don't want my money going to this place.
Hard to argue.
The trans commercial during the summer in the run up to the election about she's for they them.
He's for
Donald
us.
Trump's for us.
Yeah.
He even had that on his show and said, that's legit.
Yeah,
that's a strong messaging.
That changed the dynamic of the election.
It's like, I don't believe we should be using tax dollars for inmates to then have a sexual change.
Yeah. Now, he doesn't always get it right, though, Los.
No. So he's part of a podcast. And the discussion point turned into Elon Musk, who's become this, on the left, this enemy number one. Doesn't matter how many times I walk through it, that
EDS, they got Elon.
They do. That the reason why Elon is in the position he's in is that because under Obamacare, you had their situation where they had an office that was able to look for waste, fraud, and abuse within the government in the interest of protecting the money that was going to be allocated to Obamacare. So it just got altered. It was actually the same government agency, the same name. So Elon Musk and his group just stepped into that agency. They changed one letter of the name. It was still the same. And they started looking for waste, fraud, and abuse. But it wasn't for Obamacare. It was over the entirety of the country. That is the role they're doing. That is an appointment. That is, I selected you to do this. It does not have to go through the Senate. You don't need a confirmation. You don't need to win an election. But take a listen, as Charlemagne did not understand this.
We don't answer to him. Well, he's an elected official.
Well, what doesn't matter if you're an elected official or not?
Come on. Yes, it does.
Kash Patel's not an elected official.
But he got sworn in by the Senate. Elon did not.
I could be wrong about this, but you're saying that if the president hires anybody to look into anything, they're not allowed to do it unless the Senate swears them in?
Yes, if you're going to be over how the federal government spends people's money.
But the amount of people that spend our money that are part of the federal government that we have not sworn in is what's caused all this bloat and bureaucratic bullshit that we're dealing with now.
I don't know anything about that. I'm not even going to sit here and act like that. I do.
I have no idea, but no idea what's going on. Wait, the bureaucracy is the whole point. Is that these people are a shadow government making decisions on behalf of Americans, sending billions of dollars through agencies like USAID, and they're not elected. They're just lifelong government employees. Their mentality is that presidents, they come and go.
They come and go.
And we're going to be here for the long haul. We know better than you.
And that was the moment, and I've been told this before. Whenever I would talk about this, I was on the sports side. I would always be told, stay in your lane. Mm-hmm. You don't know politics. Yeah. I know politics well enough to come over here and do it 5 days a week. What do you think about that, suckers? At the same time, I guess when I do sports, maybe I don't really get to stay in your lane anymore. Oh, okay, he kind of takes interest in both. Oh, this is interesting. But I will tell to Charlemagne, I appreciate that he's not trying to stay in his lane. But when you miss this badly on a fundamental misunderstanding of how the government is created and how it's constructed, stay in your lane?
Yeah.
Might want to stay in your lane on that one.
I'll give him some credit for being willing to say, well, I just don't know about that. And he knows he's being recorded. Give him a little bit of credit on that.
I see. I mean, I'm with you. I get it. I guess that's better than trying to pretend and fumble your way through it a little bit. But it's clear. Everybody knows about lifelong government employees that have spent 30 years in Washington, D.C. and are sitting in places that nobody even knows their name. You're talking about not elected. These people just went and filled out an application and now are able to send billions of dollars to whomever they choose. It's not like a super secret. That's the least kept secret. If it is a secret, that's the least kept secret that I've ever heard of.
So because of under Obamacare, the chief executive, Donald Trump, can select someone to head up this office to go after waste, fraud, and abuse. If you don't like it, go after Obamacare.
Well, they would never do that.
Take that apart.
They would never do that.
See how that one works out. And oh, by the way, because Elon Musk was on the Joe Rogan Experience last week. It was like the Thursday edition. And one of the things he brought up was these are suggestions that DOJ makes to the department heads. They're not cutting anything.
They don't have the authority to.
They don't have the authority.
Trump has even said it.
Their authority is to find it. And if they find it, to bring it to the attention of the department heads, in which case the department heads will then decide what goes out and what stays. And so every single one of these is line itemed at doge.gov. Like, you can read through every single one they found. A lot of them are contracts that are silly DEI contracts. Again, the president got rid of these through executive order. We're not doing the DEI thing any longer within the federal government. We're not going to spend $20 million so that you can go into the office when eventually you have to and be told that because you're white, you somehow are the worst person in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, that we're not spending money on that anymore. Instead, DOJ finds it, suggests it to the departments decide what gets removed. Presto.
It's pretty simple.
It's not complicated.
It's no different than...
I mean, it's complicated, but it's not... the practice is not complicated. The exercise is not complicated.
It's what companies like the one that we work for at Dickey Broadcasting, they're going through the budgets. They do it every year. They go through the budget. Okay, where do we need to tighten up? Where can we spend a little more? Or do we need to stay the course? Let's just maintain the status quo for this year, just like we did last year. Feel good about staying there. Can't go down, can't go up. We're going to keep it right here. Every business does it. And you can tell me, well, the government's not a business. Right, but it should be run like one. It's your money. It's my money. I don't want them wasting it. I don't make enough money. I don't keep enough of my money for y'all to waste it. It pisses me off to think that you're wasting it.
I read, watch, and listen to things in the interest of when you spend the 4 hours with us, or an hour, or 33 minutes, whatever it is.
Usually 33.
Thank you. Yo, that's actually really, really long and good.
Biggest in Atlanta.
Biggest in Atlanta. We have the most time spent listening. That's awesome. Y'all hang with us for quite a long time, so thank y'all. Really appreciate it. But the reason why I do that is because I'm looking for those little nuggets to bring up so that what we're doing sounds different from everyone else. And Elon Musk brought it up. He's never been able to run a company in which there's a magic machine and an unlimited amount of credit card debt. It's like, that's how our federal government works. It's like, we are in a situation where, well, let's just charge more to the card. And when he says we're $1 trillion as far as what it costs to service the debt, that's as big as our military spending. It's like, you can't sustain this.
And those numbers I think for everyday Americans are like monopoly numbers. And so sometimes I think they glaze over because they're just like so beaten down with it. Billions and trillions, and they're never going to have that type of money. None of us are ever going to have that type of money, so it's easy to just dismiss it.
Not unless we start an NGO.
Right, exactly. And then all of a sudden, we'll probably get all kinds pumped in.
Tug and I are making tons of money now.
But we have to make sure we believe in the right things before we're going to get that money.
We just have to send a picture over to Doge every now and then to be like, this is what we're working on.
Or answer an email.
Yeah.
Which we learned in San Antonio that wasn't the case.
If you want to know where your money was going, this is a story out of San Antonio over the weekend. There was a facility that was supposed to be set up for overflow illegal immigrants. That if ICE couldn't detain them, if they couldn't be held somewhere, they would go to this overflow facility. The federal government was paying this facility $18 million a month to function.
Key, $18 million. Keep that in mind as Los continues.
Per month to function. It has been open since 2021. It's been empty since 2021.
Let that rattle around in your head a little bit. $18 million a month of your taxpayer dollars for a building to house people that was completely empty. It was as empty as Al Capone's vault when Geraldo went into it in the 80s.
Empty. $18 million per month. Where did the money go?
Somebody's pocket.
That's an NGO for you.
That's right.
That's what we're trying to deal with. So when Aunt Peg or crazy uncle whoever starts going nuts about this stuff, you tell them about the overflow facility at $18 million per month that has not had one person in it since 2021.
You can tell them all you want, they ain't gonna listen because they've been programmed by MSNBC and CNN and The View to dismiss it all as lies because Donald Trump is a bad guy. He's not a good man.
It resonates with the people that it needs to resonate with.
No, it does. And you can see it in the polling. You can see
the important part is the working class American who's just trying to get those groceries taken care of, pay for another semester of school, get that car payment done. $18 million per month for a facility that did not have one person of overflow in there.
Right now, our estimated savings at doge.gov/savings. Estimated savings about $105 billion. That's almost about $652 per taxpayer saved. It's gonna take some work. We're gonna get it done. Morning Xtra and Xtra 106.3 after a Neil Bortz report and a Fox News update. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has given their full backing to Zelensky. Sort of.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 106.3.
That Oval Office meeting last week, Zelensky and Trump, at first it looked like an embarrassment for Trump. Did he lose his temper? It didn't take long for the real story to come out. It was a setup, part of an ongoing Democrat effort to degrade Trump's presidency and embarrass him. I'll try to make it simple. Zelensky was going to agree to the rare earth deal. He would sign the deal in Kiev. The Democrats told him, no, don't do that. Get an invite to the White House. Sign it there. Peace in our time. So yes, the White House invited Zelensky to D.C., to the Oval Office. But before the Oval Office meeting, Zelensky had a meeting with some Democrat so-called leaders. Hey, when you get into the Oval Office, tell Trump you're not going to sign the deal unless you get security guarantees. That essentially mean American troops on the ground if Russia continues its attacks. The goal was to make Zelensky look strong and adamant while Trump blows up and the Democrats think shows his true colors. Didn't work that way. Trump and J.D. Vance accused Zelensky of essentially ambushing him while Zelensky sat there and rolled his eyes. A really bad acting job. Trump canceled the lunch, the press conference, and had him escorted out of the White House. The flaw in the Democrat plan here was that it was so transparent. It didn't take long for people to learn of the meeting with the Democrats where they told them just how to play this in the White House. Now the Democrats' Trump derangement syndrome is exposed. Zelensky is asking for another chance, and it is Trump that looks like the strong leader. So let's wait and see what the Democrats try next. Neil Bortz, Xtra 106.3.
Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 106.3 FM.
You know the old expression, I love it when a plan comes together? Well, with our First Liberty Notes, this has been so true. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about our family's company all the time right here on the station. For over 30 years, we've been the local lender who said yes when the big banks say no. A couple of months ago, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Folks from airline pilots to physicians to even pastors are now earning 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of local small businesses. If you're a qualified investor with a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% 0% interest. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. Go to firstlibertyga.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to firstlibertyga.com. That's firstlibertyga.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. SEC accredited investor status must be verified. Securities not offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air, Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station. Extra 106.3 FM.
Federal workers told to write more emails by tonight. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. As Elon Musk and Doge keep up the pressure amid federal job cuts and attempts to slash spending.
Telling employees of the federal government to respond with 5 things that they did last week, with an exception for classified information. And the Pentagon this time reportedly is going to participate. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth reversing the decision from last month and telling folks, do respond, but keep your emails internal. Basically reply only within the department.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. The Office of Personnel Management had said that prior email demands for federal workers were voluntary. European leaders have worked out an outline for peace, trying to end Russia's war in Ukraine. In a meeting in London that President Volodymyr Zelensky attended 2 days after the confrontation he had with President Trump at the White House, where a U.S.-Ukraine minerals deal fell apart as Zelensky asks for a security guarantee. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard says
he will only accept an end, apparently, that leads to what he views as Ukraine's victory, even if it comes at an incredibly high cost.
Democrats are critical of the White House meeting. Senator Chris Van Hollen also tells Fox News Sunday,
I saw the meeting as a despicable display of bullying by the President of the United States.
Wildfires keep scorching the Carolinas. Firefighters have put out many, and Doug Wood with the South Carolina Forestry Commission tells Fox only forest areas have burned.
That's really the miracle here. No lives lost, no structures lost.
Hollywood took center stage last night.
And the Oscar goes to?
That's Billy Crystal.
Are they playing us off?
No. With Meg Ryan on ABC, unveiling Best Picture.
Honora
won the most Academy Awards, 5, also getting Best Director for Sean Baker, Best Actress for Mikey Madison. The Brutalist won 3 Oscars, Adrian Brody Best Actor.
Thank you for this blessed life.
Kieran Culkin, Best Supporting Actor for A Real Pain. The Best Supporting Actress Oscar went to Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. America's listening to Fox News.
You've likely heard about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too, with their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally, developed by doctors. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily. It helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
It took 100 years, but finally there's a conservative voice you can trust. Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
The UK Prime Minister, Starmer, the socialist, came out a-swinging, letting Vladimir Zelensky know that he has the full backing of the UK. Problem is, the UK and NATO has no military. They can't do anything. I've used paper tigers a few times this morning, and that's exactly what they are. The UK, specifically, has 25 operational tanks. And then they said they have 10,000 troops that they could send as peacekeepers on a 6-month rotation, making sure they get in, do the thing.
Reenact the Blitz.
Yeah, exactly.
1941.
So it's like saying, we got your back. We got your way back. We're going to be nowhere near we're with you in spirit. We're sending good vibes, if you will.
You don't understand. We have literally 20 Panzers from 1944 in storage now in museums, ready to go.
Blow the dust off of them. Send them over there.
Got some Tiger tanks back there. You wait.
Dude, listen to this. This is Prime Minister Starmer. Listen.
You have full backing across the United Kingdom. We stand with you, with Ukraine, for as long as it may take. I hope you heard some of that cheering in the street. That is the people of the United Kingdom coming out to demonstrate how much they support you, how much they support Ukraine, and our absolute determination to stand with you, unwavering determination, and to achieve what we both want to achieve, which is a lasting peace.
Isn't this the leftist way of operating, Los? When I hear him say that, it's the leftist ideals. It's the leftist way. Judge me on what I say, not what I do. So I'm going to be there supporting you. I'm cheering the pom-poms. Now, I'm not helping you whatsoever. I got nothing to offer. But I'm giving you the best moral support that anybody else has. It's great.
I think about what happened during the Barack Obama administration, where you had over in Africa, where you had one group that ended up abducting a bunch of young schoolgirls. And what did the Obama administration do?
They did that campaign, give us our girls back, send our girls back or something.
Return our girls?
Yes, that's it, yeah.
And what do y'all remember what it was?
Nothing.
Was it military operations? Was it aid to the area? Was it boots on the ground? Was it help with law enforcement? It was hashtag. A picture and a hashtag, and you would put that out there.
And nothing happened. That I recall. I don't recall getting any of those girls back.
They eventually ended up making their way back. But that was the extent. It was judge us on, I'm going to say that I support you. Well, what are you going to support us with? Good thoughts.
Yeah, exact. Good vibes.
Clapping in the streets, cheering from our citizens.
Whole lot of tweets. Whole lot of tweets.
But that's the whole point. Is exactly what Starmer's doing right now. He's like, man, we're right there with you.
You have our full support. What is that?
Nothing. Nothing. It's nothing because we got 25 tanks. The U.S., by comparison, the United States has 5,500 operational tanks. They have 25. So what are they offering Zelensky? What are they doing for Zelensky? It's the same thing across Europe. They're all doing the same thing. They're giving the cheerlead. You saw it when they all had the same response to the meltdown that happened in the White House because of Zelensky. They all had their programmed messages that they sent out on social media. And yes, we're there. We support you. Now, we're not going to do nothing because we can't do anything. Remember last week it was, we think we've got enough to send Ukraine whatever they need to get the job done, but we need the backstop of the United States.
Right.
And then that got laughed out of the room. The backstop of the United States was the United States nuclear weapons arsenal. That was the backstop because Europe has nothing. Now you have Emmanuel Macron all of a sudden saying, well, you can have our nukes. And you see him shying away. Problem is, they have 200 or so. UK has 200 or so. And I think Russia has about 5,000. Again, it's just there's no comparison in equipment or ability.
Here's the ignorance of the situation. They're dabbling in World War III. I think this is the perfect time for the U.S. government to have serious talks about leaving NATO. That if you
How
guys,
long have I been saying this, dude?
If you've said it quite a bit, and that's why we mock NATO in the way that we do. These people are dabbling in World War III, but they're trying to use it. Like, for instance, I love, making analogies to things. You ever asked a girl out when you were 16, but you didn't have a car?
Sure.
You had to go to daddy.
Yeah, that's right.
Daddy, can I get your car? Can I get your truck? The European governments are doing like that, but they're asking Daddy Trump, hey, I need the car.
Yeah.
I need your backing.
We actually need your troops. We need your boots on the ground.
We don't actually have anything to take the girl out here.
We've got nothing. Trump has, how many times have you heard Donald Trump talking about, we're doing it on our own in NATO because they're not up to at the time, it was 2.5% of their GDP was to be spent on their militaries. None of them did it. Now Trump is saying, better be 5%. I think he's setting up for that conversation. Either y'all get it right or we're out. And he said it on Friday. We've got all the cards. You have no cards.
And if the European powers that be want to continue to saber rattle and use, let's say, the idea of a potential nuclear weapon. We've got nuclear backing. This is why you're not going to do anything. Just know the Russians, their target packaging is NATO installations across Europe. Now, it's also us. But if we ain't part of it, okay, this is how we avoid World War III. Now, y'all can each turn each other into glass. I mean, that's the direction you're headed. We can be isolationists. We can be nationalists and say the road you're going down is not going to be helpful to American or American citizens. My name's Paul. This is between y'all.
Yeah. You ever have neighbors that get into an argument, can't get along, and you're like, man, I'm just here, man. Y'all got to take care of that. I got nothing to do with this. Y'all are mad about whatever issue that's come up. Hey, it's back to your Paul. You know, it's between y'all. I like both of you fine. You know, you're both just fine. I'm not willing to get involved in this because it has nothing to do with me.
Because I don't need you fighting in my yard.
It's right. You guys, y'all can fight in your own backyards all you want. Don't come in my backyard and throw blows. I don't want the police in front of my house.
So think about Donald Trump. You're essentially playing that role. Hey, let's settle this thing down. We don't need to fight like this. Let's cease fire. Let's do this. It's over with, and let's have a resolution. And yet you then have the neighbors one street over that are like, keep fighting, man. Let's go. Let's do this.
Why are you such a wuss?
Mess it all up. Come on, man. Why don't you put some mud in your yard? Let's get after this thing.
That's right. And you got the Europeans and Zelensky there, and everybody says they're the good neighbor, right? But they're not. They're not the good. Zelensky's not a good neighbor.
No. They're a very corrupt nation.
That's exactly right. Vladimir Putin, I'm not saying he's a good neighbor, and neither is Trump. And I love what he said the other day. It was on Friday, during that, right before all the meltdown came down, right as it was happening. He said, you can't talk terrible about someone and then go try to negotiate with them.
No.
You call the baby ugly and then, hey, do you want to work out this deal? No. It never works like that. What was it that Spike Cohen said? He said, I like to dangle carrots as much as I like to hit with sticks.
Yeah.
You get more accomplished that way.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what Donald Trump is doing. And you have the Europeans who are too blind to see it. And Zelensky, who's been wagging the dog the entirety of the Biden 4 years, and all of a sudden gets coached up by the Democrats to go in and then to, shake the cage, rattle the cage, and then gets booted and can't figure out why, begging to come back in.
We talk about this in the sports world. We talk about athletes. And athletes need one of two things typically. Some of them need the pat on the back. Some of them need the kick in the ass. It's one of the two. Now, you can see this play out in real time Friday in the Oval Office because the Democrats gave the pat on the back. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance gave the kick in the ass. And which one do you think was a greater motivator for Zelensky?
The kick in the ass.
Because the other one certainly didn't help him.
The other one actually set him on the path to failure. Because he had what he had agreed to already. This was ceremonial. It was nothing but a ceremony.
This was supposed to be followed up by, we're going to have a press conference, signing, and then we're having lunch and dinner.
Woohoo! Everybody crack the champagne. It's great.
And yet, that man decided to go back on what they'd already agreed on, which, from what I understand, it's now 3 times they thought they've had this package done, and he's backed out every time.
Well, he did it in the media several times, remember?
Yes.
When Marco Rubio said, we've already got this done.
Because Rubio lined it out like this has been lined out multiple times already.
And then he goes on television saying, with his hands on his hips, Mr. Tough Guy with his chest bowed out, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And Rubio's like, what? And Rubio's not a dummy.
No, he's like, the only reason we're having this conversation with cameras in front is because this has already been agreed to.
Because why else would we do that? Why would we set ourselves up like that?
Because the Trump administration was looking for a Friday victory going into the weekend to show you this is how close we are to having peace in Europe. And that man blew it up in terms of Zelensky. So when that happened, to me, the best way to save that entire thing was now the rest of the world sees what we've been dealing with.
You're right.
He doesn't want peace.
It's funny you say it like that, though. They wanted to go into the weekend with a victory. They got their victory.
It was just different.
It was not how we expected, and I bet it wasn't how they expected it either. They got the victory because the American people are resoundingly behind Donald Trump. It's back to 80-20. It always goes back to 80-20. 80% of the American people saw what happened and goes, man, I'm not on their team. I'm on my team.
The best numbers that I saw when it comes to the left and the globalist was 65% were on Trump's side.
Okay.
And some of them were 80. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, this goes from 65 to like 83% that were, some of them were extreme. Some of them were 65% saying nothing for Ukraine, nothing more. 80% saying I support Donald Trump and what he did in the Oval Office in backing. And when you see the posts from regular Americans, the amount that say this is what I voted for, damn right this is what I voted for. This is it.
That's exactly right.
Our situation first and foremost. you should be obligated to us based on what we've given you. So, yes, does that mean that you're supposed to take some sort of sweetheart deal that's strictly for us? No, you negotiate that out. But once you have it, now let's get this taken care of and get this war over with.
Yeah, quit ripping the deal up. Quit going in front of the world and saying, no, we don't have a deal when you've already agreed to it, like Lo said, 3 times now. This was supposed to be a victory lap for you, you dumbass. God, it's like, it's when your kid won't listen to you. We talked about the analogies earlier. It's like when your kid just doesn't get his way and he, kicks and screams in the floor at Walmart because he didn't get the toy, didn't get the candy. And you have to be like, okay, buddy, when we get home, things are not going to go your way. You're going to get that hide tanned. And then all of a sudden, the kid, when you're getting home, Mom, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. I'm sorry, I ain't going to do it anymore. And that's exactly what Zelensky did. Begging to come back in the White House, begging to pick up where they left off, begging to sign the papers, do the pictures, and eat the lunch.
So I'm not alleging this. I'm reporting. I am now Reporter Los. Look at me. I'm putting on my reporter hat. I am now Reporter Los. I'm just a journalist just trying to tell you what's out there.
You need those Clark Kent glasses.
The amount of people that were online that started talking about the known Zelensky drug problem. Like it's an ongoing joke that, hey,
I've seen it.
The dude's tweaking. The dude is high. Here's what he's dealing with. And why is he giving you irrational behavior? Because of this. Now, again, I'm just pointing this out as reporter. For instance, I'll give you Dave Smith. He's the libertarian, speaks at every one of the libertarians. He's a comedian.
I love that guy.
By trade, but he is a hardcore libertarian. And he wrote this on Friday. What Zelensky did today has got to be the greatest political strategic blunder that I've ever witnessed. Don't get me wrong, it's great. I just can't get over how profoundly stupid that was. Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Yeah. I don't know if he was or not. I know he made bad decisions. I know whatever he was told to do by the Democrats and by some of the old Obama administration regime, he went in there, tried his hand, and got blown up and looked completely foolish on the world stage. I brought this up earlier. It was his ambassador to the United States with her head in her hand.
She's like, oh, God, no.
This can't go any worse. I don't know if she was in that meeting with the folks that told Zelensky. I'm alleging this. I don't know that they told him, but I certainly believe his behavior warrants some sort of way that happened. There's no way he goes in there with the deal done and then changes it up mid-sentence. Nobody does that.
Cernovich, there's another one of the posts. Today, Zelensky met with, remember, I'm a reporter. I'm just reporting what other people have put out there.
Reporter Los.
Today, Zelensky met with an American, not a globalist stooge or demonic warmonger. He didn't know how to handle the situation and, high on cocaine, talked out of turn. Zelensky is not a tough guy. He's a cross-dressing comedian wearing a G.I. Joe sweater. I'm just reporting what people that follow this stuff more astutely in D.C.
have been saying
about the situation and the behind the scenes of what would cause somebody to agree to a deal and then act so irrational
and then blow it up like Wile E. Coyote in cartoons. Just hit the dynamite off right on himself.
Almost feels like you're dealing with somebody who
is a puppet, has been instructed.
You ever dealt with somebody with a drug issue where you say that's kind of irrational? I don't get what. Didn't we agree you're going to rehab? I thought we agreed you're going to. I'm supposed to drive you.
And then
we had a deal,
dude. It's so funny you put it that way. I have a dear friend,
allegedly, all of it,
whose wife took them to rehab, and before she could get the paperwork done, he was out the back door and in his car and left. I swear, that's a real story.
It happens.
I swear to you, that is a real story. And that's exactly what you're saying. That's what it sounds like to me.
It feels like you're dealing with somebody who's very rational. While also, and credit to Zelensky, he is passionate about this. He has been able to sell this to the world. An unwinnable war, yet you have to keep giving me resources in order for me. He's putting his forward as like this great battle against a great Russian enemy. He knows it, and he knows it, and the rest of the country knows it. This is a moneymaker for so many of those oligarchs there, so many of the people that are institutionally part of Ukraine. They don't want to just start giving this stuff up.
Why would you?
Imagine if they end up out of power and money.
What? Like those NGOs? Like those NGOs we talked about.
When the money dries up, what do you do? can't just take your winnings and move on, right?
Have to
Gotta
figure out
keep
a way
this
to
thing
get more.
going.
That's right. Absolutely. Keep more and more and more. Back to drug addicts, right? Got to have more and more and more. That's it's the way it always works.
Allegedly. Drug addict.
Allegedly. Lowe's was
I'm just reporting what others have pointed out.
What has been
People
said.
in the know have had to say about this situation.
8 o'clock hours brought to you by
I am no expert on drug use.
Right. 8 o'clock hours brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com.
I work next to Tug Cowart, though.
Yeah, let me tell you. And you know me.
Ooh, he's tweaking.
Boy, I know about them drugs. I remember when I was a kid, my uncle, it was a story, somebody was using marijuana or whatever, and he's like, hey, smoking them drugs. That was always the way he put it, smoking them drugs. It didn't matter what the drug was. That was always his go-to. They're smoking them drugs.
Wacky tobacco.
Yeah, whatever. But I mean, it could be a story about, cartels and cocaine. Him, but now they're smoking them drugs. Always the way he went. When we continue on Extra 106.3, the sickening reason Ukraine is so important to the left. Buckle up for this one. Next on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3, Tug and Los until 10.
From the latest breaking news to the conservative voices you know and trust, your best new follow on social media is Extra 106.3. We're at XTRA 106.3 on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, and LinkedIn, and pretty much any social media you scroll through every day. And we drop exclusive giveaways, new daily content, and the latest breaking news from Georgia and across this great nation. Interact with your favorite Extra personalities. Get the latest on our live events and so much more. Follow at Extra 106.3 across all your social media and keep up with Atlanta's only conservative voice.
We're smart, we care. We're Central Heating and Air.
Central Heating and Air Conditioning wants you to know the start of the new season is the perfect time to ensure your home's comfort. Don't wait like most people do to have your HVAC system serviced. Your home should have maintenance twice a year. Maintenance helps keep your system running at peak efficiency and extends the life of your equipment. So turn to Atlanta's carrier experts for your system's maintenance at 770-GET-HEAT or centralheat.com. With Central, you get carrier products, carrier warranty, and carrier peace of mind. Plus, it's allergy season, and Central Heating and Air can fix what ails your house and possibly your family with home ventilation and air quality products. Central has packages designed around help using variable speed, fresh air ventilation, air cleaners, air purifiers, dehumidifiers, and more. With Central, you're not just a number, you're a member of the family. It's been that way since 1947, and they've serviced over 100,000 customers right here in Atlanta. Call 770-GET-HEAT or go to centralheat.com.
We're smart, we care. We're Central Heating and Air.
Hey there, I'm Tara, owner and publisher of Our Town Monthly, Cobb's favorite family lifestyle magazine. Partnering with our community and local businesses is what we love to do. Check out what's happening at the Avenue West Cobb.
Hey everyone, I'm Alondra. The Avenue West Cobb is just a short drive from Atlanta. Discover the dynamic mix of premium national brands like J. Jill and J. Crew, plus unique local realtors and delicious restaurants, including Lazia and Jim and Nick's. And don't forget our exciting events. Our bunny photos and our annual Spring Festival is just around the corner, and Puppy Fun at Paul's Fest is this summer. The Avenue is a vibrant destination with entertainment for the whole family. For the latest details, please visit us at theavenuewestcobb.com.
Sounds amazing. Friends, I'll see you at the Avenue West Cobb. Remember, our town is your town at Our Town Monthly.
For half a century, glyphosate has affordably and effectively protected Georgia farmers' crops from invasive weeds. Without it, the impact would be felt beyond the fields, hitting Americans where it hurts, our wallets. That's why the Modern Ag Alliance advocates for farmers' continued access to essential crop protection tools so food prices don't rise even more. Get the facts at controlweedsnotfarming.com. Paid for by the Modern Ag Alliance in support of Georgia farmers.
When it comes to protecting your assets and ensuring peace of mind, trust the expertise of Nelson Eldercare Law. Our Absolute Protection Trust is designed to provide unparalleled asset protection. Visit NelsonElderCareLaw.com to discover how our specialized services can safeguard your family's future and assets, offering you the assurance you deserve. NelsonElderCareLaw.com.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. Okay, you're driving along. Suddenly you hear that horrible sound of metal and crunching. It's an accident. Even if it's a little minor fender bender, man, that could be a nightmare. First, obviously, take care of yourself. But before you make a deal with an insurance company or anybody else, call David Van Sant with Van Sant Law. You know why? Because he used to work for the insurance company, so he knows how to get the right settlement and right away. Van Sant Law. Don't forget, if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. Protecting your interests. Insurance is great, but it's complicated. 855-GA-INJURY or vansantlaw.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Good morning. Here are your headlines for Monday, March 3rd. A 5-week-old baby girl is now safe with her mother after an Amber Alert on Sunday. Police say Milan Thompson was abducted by her father but returned after the alert. Police are still searching for the father, Jamail Darcel Simpson, a 29-year-old man believed to be driving a blue Jeep Grand Cherokee. Anyone with information is encouraged to call the Johns Creek Police Department. 4 people are dead after an overnight accident in West Georgia. The Georgia State Patrol says the driver of a Nissan Altima ran a red light and was struck by a GMC truck on the driver's side. All 4 of the occupants of the Nissan died on scene. The driver of the truck was transported to Wellstar, West Georgia with serious injuries. Today's weather starts with chilly temperatures in the mid-30s and eventually warms up to the low 60s with some clouds this afternoon. We'll have similar weather on Tuesday and a strong possibility of storms on Wednesday. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
The 8 o'clock hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning. Call them today. They are your Atlanta carrier experts, 770-GET-HEAT. CentralHeat.com is the website. We've detailed how important this war is to the left. And if you've not heard, we talked about it this morning. We talked about it periodically throughout the weeks and months leading up to where we are now. The left has a real need for this war to continue on. The American people don't want Americans boots on the ground. They don't want to continue to fund this war. They know it's unwinnable. They know it is a stalemate at best. They know Russia's not marching on Europe because they can't even take Ukraine. And then secondly, there's no intel to point to that they would march on Europe even if they could. There's no evidence for it. There is one reason, however, that this war is so stinking important to the left.
It is a haven for all the dirty games that elites want to play in Washington. Now, I had alluded to this on Friday about how I don't care if somebody wins or loses this war. I don't want to have any part of it any longer.
Right, it's 2 bad countries, 2 bad leaders.
There's no good guys here. You know, if you consider the Russians are who they are, and by no means are they good, I'm just saying I get why they decided to do this, just like I get why it was provoked. And I understand that the Ukrainians and the Americans, because we were part of installing their government in 2014, thought, the pro-Russian portion of their government that wanted to make a deal with the Russians, we're not interested in that. Instead, let's go with the remnants of the Nazis that were living in that area of the world. Let's go with them. Let's side with them. Okay, bad decisions all the way around. No. Maybe there was not a good decision, but I know this ended with having as many people dead as you could have. Take a listen to General Flynn. He's going to talk about why Ukraine is so important to the globalist elites, to the Washington elites, and what it does for them.
Why is Ukraine so important? Well, it's a hub for human trafficking. It's a hub for specifically for child trafficking. It's a hub for narcotics trafficking. It's a hub for weapons trafficking. We know about our biolabs because Victoria Nuland said we had them there. I mean, we've always known that, but that's stated now publicly. And there's a lot of money just flowing into this country. And you say to yourself, where is this money going?
I wonder where it's going.
We've learned in our own government how this works. And they're 2 very different things, but the same processes happen, it seemed to me, Los. Right? How do we launder money to ourselves? We had it with the bureaucracies and the NGOs. That's what DOJ is uncovering. And then there's another outlet in case they can't get it done here. Or even better, if it works in both places, man, we're loaded.
Then everybody's happy.
Everybody's getting their palms greased.
If you missed it during the 6 o'clock hour and into the 7 o'clock hour, we talked about the importance of Afghanistan. That was the one. Why did we have a 20-year war there? It wasn't just about fighting the Taliban. All right? It was about we had an entire business industry that was centered around what was going on with the poppy plants there. Now,
And there were so many. Even NBC was reporting on.
Yes, even
how
they covered it.
Yeah, with troops protecting the poppy fields, and I remember even then going, "Wait, we're doing what?
Why are we protecting their heroin fields?" And we were always told, "Well, that's where the Afghans make their money."
That's exactly right. It's exactly right.
It's kind of weird how we were somehow part of that. Okay, we were only part of it from a protection standpoint. All right.
What are we trying to protect?
How dumb are we? We're getting cuts of this stuff.
Well, I mean, we weren't dumb at all. That's the thing.
No, this
they
happened.
knew what they were doing.
Whether you want to complain about when we were involved in Iraq and the left was so quick to be like, blood for oil money. That's the only reason we're there. Yes, we always take a piece of this stuff, just like we did in Vietnam. Same thing with the drug trade there, the drug trade over in Afghanistan. So what did it come down to over in Ukraine? Listen to all the stuff General Flynn talked about, them pointed out. You don't think that there's money available every single time for any one of those crimes? Of course there is. And we're going to make money off it.
And they're billion-dollar industries.
Yeah, you think we're there for an altruistic venture?
The drug trade is a billion dollar industry. Why do you think those cartels run Mexico? Because it is a $1 billion. Why do you think the Chinese are in? Billions of dollars. And then human trafficking, as disgusting and vile as it is a $1 billion industry. Look it up. It's not hard to find. Every major outlet, whether you like them or not, the mainstream media even talks about the money that's involved in human trafficking.
Child trafficking is one of the great scourges that we have.
Without a doubt.
To think 300,000 children came across this border and we can account for, what is it now, like 85,000?
85,000 maybe. Yeah.
That's the ones we know of, where they're at. We have more than 200,000 children in this country where we cannot account for them. All right, this is going on around the world. If you really want to get into like the deep, nasty things, go to National Geographic sometime. Watch an episode of Trafficked when they get into organ harvesting. That is an industry that's going on around the world that is nasty.
Most people have never even heard of this. I contend people listening right now, many of them have never even considered it or heard it because it's so vile.
Let's just say,
like, who could imagine something that vile?
Let's say dad needs a liver transplant, and he's struggling. Well, we'll call it a kidney, because that's also a little bit more regular in terms of people that deal with diabetes and they're on dialysis and they need a kidney. Well, you might have a wait list. It might be 2.5, 3 years, and then you don't even know if it's actually going to come up your way. Is it not easier to go to the black market and for $25,000 to secure a kidney that'll work for you? That's the black market. That's what's happening right now. And so when you hear about all this, when they say human trafficking, that's not just about slave labor.
That's part of it.
There's also a nasty, dark underbelly of what is going on in these countries that would make you sick if you were to actually do some research and see that this is the sort of stuff that was never covered in the mainstream media.
I'm at a little bit of a loss as to why. Because there are reporters out there that will get to the bottom of things. I don't know if it's intimidation. I don't know if it's do not, if they're told not to do it by the federal government, if they're told not to. And look, when the federal government speaks, those reporters and the people that run those outlets all listen because they know where their bread's buttered. We learned that they were getting paid through USAID. All those outlets that are leftist in nature, New York Times, Politico, they were all getting paid. So why would they go against what they're told not to and told to report?
Again, you want to look into the seedy underbelly of so much of this stuff? Mariana Van Zeller with Trafficked. She's got, we got seasons of everything.
She's the one that goes and embeds?
She embeds with these organizations. One of the ones that they did was it showed you how the fentanyl gets cut into what is then processed in Mexico that then comes across the border. So, she shows you how this stuff is done, how it's made. She'll show you rug pulls as far as with, meme coins and all sorts of crazy stuff like there. And so every single time she does this, you are privy to another little ugly part of the world that most reporters will not venture into. Ghost guns. That one was a fascinating one about how it's so prevalent, and it's created a black market because there are criminals that cannot get a hold of firearms. They can get a hold of ghost guns.
Yes, they can.
So, it's a lot of this stuff. Just know Ukraine was a hub for so many dark and nasty things that was making people a lot of money.
And a lot of people don't know what the dark web is. All of that stuff is available there. That underground, gross network of internet. Just the fact that you can get anything you want or need and usually it's the worst of the worst. It's not showing up in your regular Google search. And they know it. There's never an intent for it. It is to launder money. It is intended to traffic people or organs. And then those ghost guns like Los was talking about.
Like the one episode that'll make you, and again, because it's all crazy, but like the one that has the least amount of like nastiness to it is tiger trafficking.
Like big cats?
Yes. The amount of people that do that around the world.
Oh my gosh.
That one doesn't have anyone losing a kidney.
Yeah. But it's so weird. Like, what do you do with a tiger? It's not like they can just. There are
people that like big cats.
I know, but
you want me to get you a tiger?
No.
I'll go to Ukraine. I'll get you. I'll get you 2 tigers.
Yeah, seriously, for enough money.
You want a tiger? I'll get you a tiger
for enough money. I would like a chimpanzee as well.
Get you one of those chimpanzee.
Absolutely.
Just make sure you get rid of it when it gets out of adolescence.
Right, because they'll tear your face off.
That's right. They get really angry.
I just don't know if Europe's ever going to get off their butts, Los. I don't expect that they will. Now, since the ceasefire technically has fallen apart with Zelensky and the United States through that meeting that blew up on Friday and is now sitting at Zelensky's feet, the American people saw what happened. Most people in the mainstream media took the blow up and they ran with it. Look how Donald Trump can't keep his composure. If you watch the whole thing, the whole 45 minutes, you know better. And maybe you knew better anyway. But now the UK and France are working on a ceasefire deal. And my thing is, it's about time that you made some effort. They have zero leverage to do anything. And we've talked about it a whole bunch during the show. But if you're just joining us, thank you for being here. Tug and Los until 10. Who's going to Europe for anything in their diminished militaries? These people couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag because they don't have the capacity to, Los.
Think about what has changed. Your European militaries used to be the strongest in the world. And that changed. I mean, the British used to be the strongest. The French used to be the strongest. The French used to have the most incredible Navy armada to go along with the British. Obviously, we've had the Germans twice in one century look to pop off at everybody. This was an area where military might mattered. And now, whether it's through some sort of ridiculous enlightenment or some strange push towards the left or a rejection of personal responsibility and overall freedom,
or all three,
they have all gone soft in a way where they don't have active militaries that can influence anything around the world, let alone in their backyard.
And I'm glad you brought that part up because the Wall Street Journal is reporting, and I believe it, that the Europeans want to put NATO or Ukraine in NATO because they have the most effectively equipped military across Europe. The Ukrainians, you heard me right, the Ukrainians have the most effectively equipped military in all of Europe. That is the UK, Italy, France, and Germany. More effectively equipped than all 4 of those nations combined. That's why they want Ukraine in NATO. Because they know that they know Ukraine have all the weapons that we have sent over there, the billions and billions of dollars, the drone technology, Starlink, everything that the Ukrainians are using right now is because of the red, white, and blue. And the Europeans know it. They have no desire to fix their militaries because they're going to continue to run programs for welfare. And I'm not saying you shouldn't give anybody a hand up, but they are giving people handouts everywhere, and it's ultimately going to destroy the entire continent.
Can I make a sports analogy?
Yes.
All right, when the Big Ten wanted to get stronger, what did they do? They were like, well, let's go get Oregon. Let's go bring them in. When the SEC wanted to get stronger.
That's a great example.
They're like, they're ready-made. Let's go get Texas. This will be great. We're going to import Texas. Who's the only one who has a military around here? Well, the Ukrainians do. Let's bring them into the conference.
Exactly right. And that's the only thing.
We need their hardware and all of their tech.
Dude.
It was given to them by the Americans.
Please don't misunderstand the fact that I think Putin is not a good dude. He is not. Neither is Zelensky. Neither one of them are good. However, Russia said the only thing you cannot do is bring Ukraine into NATO.
Quit moving NATO further and further east.
And what have they done?
And encroach on their western flank. That was the agreement that had come since 1990 when the wall fell. NATO will not expand in closer into Russian territory, and all we've done is expand it closer to Russian territory.
Exactly right. And I read a great example the other day. I think it was on Saturday when I was between games. My son was playing a doubleheader over South Carolina, so we were between games, and I'm just reading. And somebody made the comparison to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Remember when the Russians put missiles in Cuba? What did we do?
90 miles off the beach, we almost went to war.
We are like, hell no. Not a chance we're going to allow you to have missiles there. You don't think the Russians are saying the same thing?
That was their issue with the biolabs. That was their issue with the armament. Yes, the Russians invaded Ukraine. That happened. But there was a set of circumstances that went for the better part of 6 or 7 years that enabled this to happen.
Which is a key part of
the
Jasmine Crockett is, when she's got her hands on her hips saying,
"Who invaded him?"
Exactly. Can we talk about how about the circumstances that caused it? Let's talk about that because there is nuance to the conversation.
Yes, the circumstances that caused it largely were on us and the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians had a deal on the table to have a peaceful, and in this case, it was going to be, you're going to have access to these lands that are traditionally Russian. You're going to leave us alone. We maintain our port and our mineral rights. That was what was lined out by the previous administration and the previous president. The CIA orchestrated a coup in Ukraine to make sure that there was not a government there that was cooperating with the Russians. So then by the time we get to them invading, what do you think? They've been saber rattling on the border for 6 or 7 years.
I'm telling you.
That doesn't give the Russians right to do it, but we went into Iraq under the same circumstances. They got weapons of mass destruction. We got to go. They didn't.
They didn't, but we used that.
I know they had biolabs in Ukraine.
Yep. They did. Definitely did have that. I've said
it's much more convoluted than just they attacked and we're fighting them.
That's right.
Jasmine Crockett.
There's nuance. There's gray areas. There is actual ways to discuss it that is just not they're bad and the other team is good because neither one of them are good. I'd love to see America leave NATO. I've said it a million times. That irritates some people, and I understand. I don't mind. That's the way I feel about it. I think it is a bad setup for the United States. I'd love to leave the UN if you want my full truth, because I think it's a bad situation for the Americans. And it always has and always will be. Now, people say that's never going to happen. I've been told in this building a million times, people saying it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. You know what else they told me was never going to happen? Trump be elected. And then they told me he was never going to be elected again. And there was a concerted effort to not allow him to be elected again. And yet, he was elected anyway. Don't tell me the impossible. Don't give me that line that it's impossible. When we continue on Extra 106.3, if you say it enough, Hakeem Jeffries thinks that you will believe it. Next on Extra 106.3, Tug and Los until 10.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your sports headlines for Monday, March 3rd from Braves Spring Training. The team is in action this afternoon, this time from Port Charlotte, as they match up with the Tampa Bay Rays. First pitch is set for 1:05 this afternoon. You can check out that game on our sister station's app, 680 The Fan. The Atlanta Hawks, they're on the road tonight, taking on a 38-22 Memphis Grizzlies squad. The Hawks currently hold on to the 9th seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. That tip-off is set for 8 o'clock. And the NFL Combine has come to an end. The new league year set to begin for 2025 will begin on the afternoon of March 12th. With your headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Don't miss the first MLB All-Star Week event at Truist Park as talent meets tradition in the 3rd annual HBCU Swingman Classic presented by T-Mobile and powered by the MLBPA Youth Development Foundation. Join fans, athletes, and alumni to watch Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. shine a light on 50 of the best young ball players from HBCUs around the country on baseball's biggest stage, July 11th at 7 p.m. Get your tickets today at allstargame.com/swingman.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. You know, a great smile can make you more successful as well as make you happy. Yes, it's true. And your smile's waiting for you at my dentist, Dr. Dina Giesler, my friend for 30 years and dentist forever. This woman at Atlanta Smiles, atlantasmiles.com, the dentist with a doggy. It's really true, whether it's just regular cleaning or bridges or crowns or are your teeth bothering a little bit, maybe a little ache or something, or your gums it's not going to get better on its own. Take it from me, I found that out the hard way. Taking care of your teeth and gums and everybody's happy. And by the way, you can relax with Dr. Dina. This is an individual, private VIP experience. So latest technology. She used AI to get my last thing done at my last visit. And don't forget the doggy. She's a little doggy to take a nap in your lap while you're getting your work work done. And this staff, these ladies are angels, I promise you. You'll love going there. A veteran herself, Dr. Dean, a 10% veterans discount off the top. Tell them when you call. 404-262-7733. Your smile's waiting. Get the doggy, atlantasmiles.com.
Sales excellence expert positions offered by Kuhn & Nagel Incorporated in East Point, Georgia. Manage and support the end-to-end tender process for air and sea freight logistics. Collaborate with internal teams and external stakeholders to develop competitive and compelling tender proposals. Must be willing to travel domestically 30% of time and internationally 10% of time. If interested, please submit resume to mary.boruch@kuehne-nagel.com.
You may know that ATL Turf Co. has become a leader in artificial grass design and installation services, but you may not know that ATL Turf Co. is a large artificial grass distributor. We only sell U.S.-made, premium name brand turf at factory direct pricing below wholesale. And now we're open to the public with large inventories of lawn and landscape, putting green, athletic, and pet turf on sale. Plus, all remnants are on sale for only $1 per square foot, direct from Dalton to our warehouse in Kennesaw. Visit atlturfco.com to learn more. atlturfco.com.
Attention Warriors, are you a veteran ready to navigate to success after service? Tune in to the Warrior Alliance Network. Join us as we spotlight inspiring stories, provide essential resources, and connect you with a community dedicated to empowering veterans. From career advice to health and wellness tips, the Warrior Alliance Network is your go-to hub for post-service success. Tune in Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on Xtra 106.3. Join us on the mission, the Warrior Alliance Network, where warriors thrive together. Visit us at thewarrioralliance.org for more information.
It's March 3rd, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. It's National Anthem Day, commemorating when the U.S. officially adopted the Star-Spangled Banner as the national anthem under President Herbert Hoover in 1931. Written by Francis Scott Key in 1814, the national anthem was originally a poem titled Defense of Fort McHenry. The poem is about the British naval bombardment of the fort, which Key witnessed from a distance. For 25 hours, the fort withstood more than 1,500 cannon shots as the 1,000 American soldiers held firm before eventually unfurling a giant American flag in the morning light and defeating the British landing party. Also on this date, in 1991, video showing the savage beating of black man Rodney King by 4 white officers of the Los Angeles Police Department aired on television. The video became a symbol for police brutality, and roughly a year later, violent riots would take place in LA after the officers were acquitted of their actions. I'm Tushar Saxena with your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Wherever you are in Georgia, you can stream Xtra 106.3 and crystal clear digital with the all-new Xtra 106.3 app. Get Xtra's live on-air stream in real time, or go back and listen to all your favorite shows, Neil Bortz, or original podcasts, no matter where you go. Grab the Xtra 106.3 app now and start streaming.
May I ask a favor of you? And that would only be...
Here's $5.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it was 10. That's what I needed. Oh. It was like Zelensky, right? Yeah, every 5. I'm like, I need 10. Can I get more money? I want to ask you a favor. When you need a good or a service, you look first to the advertisers of Xtra 106.3 because they share your values. There's so many companies out there that we buy from that pretty much hate everything we stand for. Don't buy from them unless you have to. If there's a chance for you to use a good or a service that you hear about during the morning show, during the Morning Extra, or in the afternoon show with the Kimmer, give them the first chance to earn your business. It's the only thing I ask for you as you listen to the Morning Extra each day. 404-741-1230 is the number at Xtra 106.3 across the social media platform. I figure if I say this enough, Los, it'll finally cut through, right? People will be like, oh, you know what? Let me give somebody a chance. He said it over and over and over again. He said it a bunch. So it becomes, part of the lexicon. People understand, they hear it, and they're like, man, let me give some of these advertisers the first shot at my business.
Yes, I will give them the first shot at your business.
That's right. That's all I asked for. Look, Hakeem Jeffries is using it. I thought if he could use it, I could use it.
It's an amazing tactic. It's almost like a trial balloon, where you just want to see, will this work? You ever float something downstream and then you run down the other side so you can catch it? I wonder if that's what Hakeem Jeffries has done, Minority Leader of the House. And Hakeem Jeffries continues to go on television and say something that we all know not to be true. His audience knows it not to be true. But I wonder if it's a trial balloon to see if it will work downstream.
We'll start some momentum with it.
Will somebody, if I say this enough, will somebody else say it? Hakeem Jeffries is claiming that the Democrats fixed the border.
What we've seen from the Trump administration over the last several weeks is just a flood of unprecedented extremism and a parade of horribles that continue to be unleashed on the American people. While at the same time, the Trump administration is not focused on solving the problems of everyday Americans. We're continuing to make sure we focus on trying to make life better for everyday Americans. Fundamentally, that's why we were sent to Washington, D.C. We have to drive down the high cost of living. We have to secure the border. We have to keep communities safe. We have to protect our dreamers and farm workers and families. These are the things that matter, as opposed to creating crisis-like moments when we should be coming together and demonstrating leadership for the free world.
Dude, I'm making all kinds of notes over here as he's talking.
Well, where have you been?
It's exactly right what I wrote down. Didn't do any of those things when you're in power. How do you plan to do it? He didn't give any plan. He didn't say, hey, here's how we should do it.
We're here to secure the border.
A blanket statement. That's all it is.
When did you initially try? Because I know that there's 10 to 15 million people that poured in here illegally, and we've been able to get that down by 97%. If you look at even the gotaways, we weren't even counting gotaways. It was just like, let them through.
Yeah, whatever. Right now we have operational security of the border, and we didn't need one law passed. We didn't need one thing signed. They could have done it the entire time. It was a complete choice not to secure the border. Donald Trump has proven that in just over a month. He's proven that they lied to you from the get-go, and they continue to lie to you, just like Los is saying. He's repeated this over and over and over again. We know they didn't do anything to help you, the economy, your personal economy, or the border. And now all of a sudden they're going to bang the drum as if they've done something?
All right, you want some fun numbers here?
Yes, I do.
All right, so this is the end of 2024, October, November, and December. This was the last opportunity to get here. Southwest land border encounters. So that's just the Southwest corridor. 240,000, 242,000, 301,000. Last month, 61,000.
That's quite a cut. That's quite a drop in numbers.
And so you're taking what was a crazy number, and now you've gotten it down to something manageable, but your gotaways are in like the triple digits. It's like 180.
Yeah.
Which is nothing in comparison to we let 200 to 300,000 come across.
But I think the biggest story is the fact that they knew.
By the way, those are border control numbers, by the way. You can find them, cbp.gov.
Those people are, shaking the pom-poms as if we're going to do something, chose not to do it. They had the opportunity, chose not to do it. They knew they weren't going to do it. They wanted you to believe that they couldn't do it. And now that it's being done, they're like, oh, my God. Well, we better get out in front of this because this looks real bad for us.
We better claim we're doing something.
And even claim that we did something.
We're going to take credit for it.
That's exactly right.
Look what we did. The only thing that the Biden administration did over 4 years was because of the heat that was on them, they decided to tell the American public that they were changing policy, which was, well, now you just can't come across anywhere. You have to go through a port of entry. So what did people do? All right, let's take a right. Let's go through the port of entry.
Let's claim asylum there.
And it was still having people pour across the border. That was it. That was the one Biden administration move. We're getting tough. You got to come through a port of entry. You can't just cross the Rio anymore. You got to come through here. All right, well, all that happened was the migrant trains, the caravans just went through the port of entry. Still the same result.
And they were just fine with it until you weren't. When you finally put your foot down, when you finally made a change, that's when they decided, oh, we better do something. The American people have had enough. They knew they were going to push you to the point that you'd get fed up, and then that's when they would back it off a notch, right? That's the game plan. Let's push them to the point, and then we'll back off. And then when they get a little fat and happy again, we'll push it even further down the field, as Los has used that football analogy a million times.
I want you all to take a small mental note, okay? This is going to be for 9 months down the road. What will happen from Hakeem Jeffries and the rest of this party when we start getting energy production ramped back up to a crazy level? not talking about what it's been over the last 4 years. I'm talking about we unleash everything on federal lands and everywhere else, out in the ocean, everywhere. Pipelines, all of it. When that starts bringing down prices, and you're going to see your wallet suddenly stretching further than it has been, and inflation starts to come down, and the interest rates start moving again to lower, you're going to have the Democrats claim that it was the Inflation Reduction Act.
100%.
They will
That's
claim
right. I hadn't
that
thought of
the
that, but
Inflation
yes.
Reduction Act is what caused this. They will try and take credit based on a deal that we knew had nothing to do with inflation. And that's how they're going to try and spin it.
They knew it. They call it the New Green Deal.
It's a Green New Deal.
Green New
It's
Deal.
Inflation Reduction Act. Just watch. About 9 months from now, file it away. This is going to be under one of those, man, the Oracle got that one right. That is what they'll go to claim a small victory when they have no power.
And they will continue to have no power because nobody believes that they can do anything. Nobody believes that they have your best interest at heart. I don't believe that, and I know you don't believe it. Give me one instance. Give me some reason to think that Hakeem Jeffries or Joe Biden or whomever was running the puppet government in the White House, give me one instance to make me believe that they had yours or my best interest at heart. Because I don't believe they did. They never did, and they still don't to this minute. They're going to, like Lo said, they're going to take some credit or try to take some credit to try to prove to you that they have your best interest at heart. But you know better. Vote accordingly, just like you did back in November. Morning Extra and Extra 106.3 when we continue. Europe is lost. It's just us now. Next on Extra 106.3, we got a Neil Bortz report and a Fox News update, and then we'll talk about it.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
That Oval Office meeting last week, Zelensky and Trump, at first it looked like an embarrassment for Trump. Did he lose his temper? It didn't take long for the real story to come out. It was a setup, part of an ongoing Democrat effort to degrade Trump's presidency and embarrass him. I'll try to make it simple. Zelensky was going to agree to the rare earth deal. He would sign the deal in Kiev. The Democrats told him, no, don't do that. Get an invite to the White House. Sign it there. Peace in our time. So yes, the White House invited Zelensky to D.C., to the Oval Office. But before the Oval Office meeting, Zelensky had a meeting with some Democrat so-called leaders. Hey, when you get into the Oval Office, tell Trump you're not going to sign the deal unless you get security guarantees. That essentially mean American troops on the ground if Russia continues its attacks. The goal was to make Zelensky look strong and adamant while Trump blows up and the Democrats think shows his true colors. Didn't work that way. Trump and J.D. Vance accused Zelensky of essentially ambushing him while Zelensky sat there and rolled his eyes. A really bad acting job. Trump canceled the lunch, the press conference, and had him escorted out of the White House. The flaw in the Democrat plan here was that it was so transparent. It didn't take long for people to learn of the meeting with the Democrats, where they told them just how to play this in the White House. Now the Democrats' Trump derangement syndrome is exposed. Zelensky is asking for another chance, and it is Trump that looks like the strong leader. So let's wait and see what the Democrats try next. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Convenience is defined as the state of being able to proceed with something with little effort or difficulty. Well, at RBM of Atlanta, we embody this philosophy. Meet our Mercedes-Benz pickup and delivery service. It gives you back time and money. Does your Mercedes-Benz need service? If so, we'll pick up your vehicle that's requiring service from your home or office and bring it back to our dealership for the required service. With over 100 appointments available every weekday, day. Over 50 appointments on Saturdays and more than 200 courtesy vehicles in our fleet. We're here to serve. We'll work around your schedule. We're here to save you time, energy, and money. RBM of Atlanta is a J.D. Power 2023 Diamond Dealer of Excellence for the customer sales experience and Georgia's only 9-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best winner. We're proud to be Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964. Pickup and delivery service restrictions do apply. Ask your service coordinator or service advisor for details.
True Prep on Cobb Parkway is your one-stop shop for emergency preparedness supplies, including freeze-dried food, water filtration, first aid, and more. They also have a large selection of firearms, including a huge selection of AR-15s, firearm accessories, and ammo at the lowest prices around. They're locally owned and operated, and you can visit their store in Marietta on Cobb Parkway or online at trueprep.com. That's truprep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow at True Prep.
Are you concerned about securing your family's future and assets? Look no further than Nelson Elder Care Law. As a family-owned and family-focused firm, we offer absolute assurance and peace of mind through our comprehensive asset protection services. Visit NelsonElderCareLaw.com to explore how we can safeguard your legacy and provide tailored solutions for your family's well-being.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented by Southern Exteriors. Quality and precision you can rely on.
They're told to justify their jobs. Again, I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Federal employees told to write emails by tonight, like before, list 5 of their accomplishments last week in a push again led by Elon Musk and Doge.
They are doing exactly what President Trump wants them to do, which is to identify waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal government.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Unlike prior emails, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's telling workers in his department to reply, though the Office of Personnel Management had said earlier response was voluntary. This is Democrats keep pushing back. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell tells Fox.
We are watching them do meat acts across the board. We are seeing people, healthcare is being impacted. The veterans' healthcare is being impacted.
Ukraine's getting European support. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer leading a meeting in London, putting forward an outline to end Russia's war.
The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air, together with others. Europe must do the heavy lifting.
Ukraine's president was there. After Friday's meeting with President Trump turned into a shouting match at the White House, and a U.S.-Ukraine minerals deal was never signed as part of the talks to end the Russia conflict. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy tells CNN State of the Union.
It is absolutely shameful what is happening right now. The White House has become an arm of the Kremlin.
Israel's cut off food and supplies to Gaza, accusing militants of stealing that aid. Hamas calls it a war crime as the U.S. pushes a plan to extend the just-ended first phase of the ceasefire to get more hostages out. They gave out the Academy Awards last night on ABC, and the most Oscars went to Anora.
I want to thank the Academy for recognizing a truly independent film.
Sean Baker won Best Director for Anora, which won 5 Academy Awards, including the biggest, Best Picture. Mikey Madison also honored in that movie as Best Actress. Best Actor went to Adrian Brody, one of the Brutalists' 3 Oscars. Kieran Culkin won Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, my God, that's crazy.
For his role in A Real Pain, Zoe Saldana got Best Supporting Actress for Emilia Perez. America's listening to Fox News.
You've likely heard about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too, with their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily. It helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Start your day with live and local conservative talk with Tug, Rhino, and Carlos Medina on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3.
Bonus hour, glad that you're here. Leading up to the Glenn Beck program, he starts about 10 o'clock straight up, 10 to noon, and then Clay and Buck, noon to 3, local afternoon show with the Kimmer, 3 until 6 on Extra 106.3. I've thought this for a really, really long time. that Europe is in such flux, it's such chaos that they can't even help themselves. They keep talking about how they're backing Zelensky, and they've got the unbridled backing of the UK and France and Italy, just Europe altogether. All the while, Europe can't even protect itself. So it's empty promises again and again and again. So Zelensky, I don't know if Zelensky realizes that sure, they say it out loud, but they can't help him at all.
I think this is, for me, as a mentality, that we were hopeful that Europe, who oftentimes might be months ahead of us on a handful of things. For instance, when it comes to trans children and medication and
surgeries and all that stuff, yeah,
they have recognized that this is not healthy, it's not working, and they're abandoning it. And so we're like, okay, it's taken us a while in our medical fields to recognize that this is something we should not be doing. They were the lead. And so you're hopeful that with they're able to lead on certain aspects, that maybe freedom, maybe border security would be one of them. No, we're having to be the leaders. And when it comes to Ukraine, you can look at the emergency meeting that they had there in London. Starmer, Zelensky, Macron, Schultz, Maloney, Tusk, Trudeau, Sanchez, Fredrickson, Stubb, Christensen, Schoof, Fiola, Fidon. It was one after another of these leaders that were basically pointing out that they will be loyal to Ukraine. Now, does that mean with weapons, with ammunition? Well, no, probably not with men. None of it. They don't have it. But the mentality is now one of globalism, even through Europe.
It's like when the left makes fun of people on the right when they say, "My thoughts and prayers are with you." It's reverse.
Thoughts and prayers,
it's
Zelensky.
Pretty much what it is. Thoughts and prayers. I believe in thoughts and prayers, so please don't take that as I'm making fun of it, because I believe in the power of prayer.
The way the left
it's exactly what they do. Oh, that's thoughts. That what they're doing is thoughts and prayers, pal.
Can't believe you managed to look at it and say thoughts and prayers, but it is.
It's the truth.
It is. I'm not going to do anything. Well, remember, they don't value thoughts and prayers, so
there's zero value in it.
I don't value their, well, we're thinking about you, buddy. We got your back.
But that's all it is.
But this is how Europe is supposed to be, this bastion of freedom along with us. Western Europe is supposed to be one of these places along here where freedom puts up the fight. We are the Alamo.
That's
of
where it
freedom.
all spawned.
Yes, it's supposed to be where self-determination of man grows from this area of the world, that freedom is where it starts and finishes, and we're great defenders of it. And Europe has lost that. Europe's not about that anymore. Europe is talking about thought police.
Yeah, that's
Europe
right.
is talking about prayer in your home that might be offensive.
Right.
Europe is talking about, now you have some kickback from some of the people that talk about unfettered migration, illegal immigrants into their country.
Well, but that's just the European people, not the European leaders.
No, the leaders are like, by all means, let's keep this thing going.
More. Yeah, and it's funny, in Europe, they don't have the ability to make their own decisions anymore. The European people are handcuffed to make their own decisions, because there's more people with values that are different than theirs, than their own values in their own country.
If you've listened to this show or done some of the research on your own, Mike Benz, we've pointed him out where he's now done Rogan a few times. He's
Smart
been
guy.
with a handful of other people. He's been with Theo Vaughn. Like, the guy has bounced around. Cybersecurity expert, worked under the Trump administration. He was telling you about all the dangers from USAID and what had gone on. That USAID was focused around the world in influencing situations that would be advantageous to our government. For instance, if you're in the Congo and you're on that desk, yeah, you know what, we'll help you out, but we're going to need access to your cobalt mines. Sure thing. This is what their development was. It was about creating advantageous markets for the United States. And once you had Brexit, that occurred during that time period of the rise of Donald Trump, that's when USAID said, we have nationalism, which opposite of globalism, growing out of the United States. We need to attack it with our own weapons. And that's what they were doing with their information stuff. How do you think you got a Russian collusion case?
That's right.
How do you think you undermined Donald Trump's first presidency using the swamp? Because USAID saw it when it came to Brexit and when it came to Donald Trump, that these are dangers to the globalist movement.
Jerry, Board Op Dre, I'm going to do an audible here. I want to go to that UK caller, because this is backing up what Los has just said. These European leaders, They have no bite. They have no will to do what the Europeans actually want. And the Europeans for a long time would have never said Donald Trump is a good guy. They said he's the worst. He's the worst. My leaders told me he's the worst. The media has told me he's the worst. But they, too, like you and I, are awake.
Absolutely hate Donald Trump.
Right.
I thought he was a racist, a socialist, and he shouldn't be in office, and he was a crook.
Right.
However, he is the best president I have ever seen. He is one of the best politicians I have ever seen. He has shown up all the politicians over here. He has shown how to lead. He has shown things that can actually be done.
What is it you particularly admire, the policies he's brought in, David?
The immigration policy, the putting America first policy, the threat of cutting back aid to other countries and putting things first with America. Basically, everything that he's done.
And leading up to that, he said, I once thought those things about Donald Trump, not any longer. I believe that he is doing the will of the American people and doing what's best for America. And that went on later on in the call. He basically said, I want the European leadership to do the same thing. It's not going to happen. Those people are globalists to the bone. I mean, you are going to have a November 2024, a November 2016 or November 2015 to happen. It's going to you're going to have somebody like Donald Trump that shakes up Europe the way that Trump has shaken up America.
I believe part of the reason why we work the way we do on this show and we try and read everything and watch everything is because we want autonomy. That's when you know your bosses trust you. What are y'all talking about? Are you doing quality radio? Because autonomy means we're going to leave you alone to let you do your thing. We like it. Things are going well. Here's the autonomy. That's what I think we all strive for professionally. America is reclaiming its own autonomy. We're going to be the determining factor. We're going to live to a higher standard. And so we're not going to be beholden to anyone else out there. The European Union, the European countries long have given up on autonomy. So that caller, everything he brings up is, I want self-determination within my own country. The
Sounds
problem
awfully
is,
familiar.
The leadership has decided, we ain't interested in that because globalism means stripping you of autonomy and ultimately what's going to be your sovereignty within your nation.
And that's why you see the conservatives winning in Germany, last month. And it wasn't the party that was endorsed by Trump and by J.D. Vance, but they did win a segment. I mean, obviously the elections are very different.
It's what you have 5 or 6 major parties.
That's exactly
is how it
right.
goes.
But the fact that you're seeing people that are more nationalists, more populist win shows you that they see what's happening in America and the fact that you can, even though you've been told you can put your country first. Charity does start at home. Doing what's best for you is the right thing to do because you can't help someone else if you've not helped yourself.
See, I believe we have about 4 parties in our country. I believe we have the Democrats who largely are in lockstep, and that's good for them. There's some offshoots as far as socialist Democrats, but there's not enough of them. You then have the Libertarians, and I think they have good ideas. I'm glad that Donald Trump has entertained quite a bit of that. Even speaking with Spike, on Friday, getting to see the stuff that he liked that they were doing. And then you have the Republicans, and then you have MAGA. And those are 2 different things.
Completely.
MAGA is much more along the lines of Tea Party Republicans, Freedom Caucus Republicans.
Conservatarians, too, I believe.
More so than what you get with the general Republicans. And so it's different, but it has a similarity to Europe. It just so happens that the MAGA Republicans are speaking for the largest amount of people right now. Hence, they derive this sort of power. And as much as the Democrats want to say, hey, his poll numbers are going to drop and he's going to overstep, show me where it is, because right now everything has just been in the realm of common sense.
Well, they thought Friday was the day.
Oh, that was going to be the one. He argued with Zelensky. Zelensky's a god, like Fauci.
That's right.
Oh, he's one of our entities.
How could he do that?
Our deities. It's so perfect and wonderful. He cannot make a mistake.
And as we noted, this is why I believe that this was a setup. This is why I believe they said when he met with the Democrats, you go in there and you rattle his cage. Not because they care about Zelensky or Ukraine. We know better than that. They care about the money laundering. They care about the biolabs. They care about all that stuff. That's important to them. They wanted him to go in there because if he got Trump rattled, it would be bad for Trump. They had their Twitter messages laid out. They had them typed out and scheduled to send. And as soon as the rattling happened and Trump told him and then kicked him out, they hit send and all the messages were exactly the same.
What they did not.
That's why it's coordinated.
No, what they did not anticipate, nor did I. Okay, got this one by the Oracle. I did not expect, as that meeting was ending, as Tug Coward is texting me feverishly on Friday, you got to check this thing out. Dude. I come jump in there and I'm catching all the little highlights and it just ended. And in my mind, I'm going, oh, okay. I think this looks good for Trump and Vance, but I don't know. Maybe they'll say that he's just being mean. What is going on here?
You knew they were going to say it. What did the real Americans think?
When Lindsey Graham, who is as warmonger neocon as they come, from the Republican side, as a guy who will ditch out. He is like established Republican as it gets. When he turned on Zelensky, that's when I knew this served as a solidifier of American power and what American people want, which is we want peace, but you don't get to take advantage of us anymore.
We're not getting screwed, man. We're not taking the punches to the jaw and not getting anything out of it. And it's not even about getting anything out of it. I think that's important. I think the United States should benefit. If we're sending billions, there better be some benefit to us. I think anybody thinks that. If you're spending your money, there better be. If you go to Walmart and spend your money, there's a benefit, right?
I need a value
got
here.
Something. You got something for the money that you spend.
Get me something tangible out of this.
Without question. Is peace a worthy cause? Yes, of course it is. But you know peace is not going to be attained there because Zelensky is not ready for peace. He doesn't want peace. I think Vladimir Putin wants peace more than Zelensky wants peace.
I think so too.
That's my belief. Don't mistake that as of me saying and thinking that Vladimir Putin's a good dude, because I don't.
No, one has already, when it comes to proposed deals, and again, this is all in flux, we had a deal lined out for a third time by reports. A mineral rights deal, here's going to be a ceasefire deal that the Russians were ready for and Zelensky was not interested in. The same way that under Joe Biden, we had the same scenario where peace deal's on the table, the Russians have already lined it out, this is what the agreement's going to be, and you had the Biden administration fly to Kiev to tell Zelensky that you're not taking that deal. You couldn't end it.
It's remarkable to think that would even happen. That somebody say, nope, we're not taking the deal. We don't want peace. We want peace so little that we're going to tell you don't take the peace deal. And then to see Tulsi Gabbard this weekend, Tulsi saying Zelensky doesn't want peace. She never said Putin doesn't want peace. And that's the thing that I think that gets so overlooked, is that one country in Russia, I think the Russian people want peace, and I would even say the Ukrainian people want peace because they don't buy into Zelensky's BS. He's got a 4% approval rate. They're talking about a coup. How can we overthrow this guy? That's what some of the military leaders are saying. And anybody that keeps up knows that if there was an election, he would be voted out today.
He has enemies now on all sides. That's why he is aligning himself with the Europeans the way he is.
The paper tiger. Because it is the Europeans.
They ain't here. This administration is not going to be friendly to it unless we are getting something out of it. Obviously, the Russians ain't a friend. But then his own countrymen, many he's sent into this meat grinder, this blender of human flesh, they're tired of this. They know they can't win this war. They're ready to get out.
Yes.
And yet, he's the one who's like, there's no elections. I'm jailing my opponents. I've already shut down the churches. You can't congregate. You can't start talking about this stuff. I'm consolidating power for me.
If you need, go ahead.
I'm just saying, he ends up, history is going to look back at this guy, and it's going to be very poor based on what he did to his country and a generation of Ukrainian men that died in this conflict with the Russians.
And if you're on the other side of this, and I know we have people that listen that are left, lean left, hard left, Democrats, whatever. And we welcome you. We welcome your calls, too, at 404-741-1230. Bill Clinton, a Democrat, said this several years ago on Piers Morgan's show. He said the exact same thing. He said he had to do exactly what Trump did, be brutally honest.
You should be brutally honest with people in private. And then if you want them to help you, try to avoid embarrassing them in public. Now, sometimes they do things which make it impossible for you to keep quiet. But by and large, I found all the people I dealt with appreciated it if I told them the truth. How I honestly felt and what our interests were and what our objectives were. And they also appreciated it when I didn't kick them around in public for as long as I couldn't kick them around.
Do you remember Donald Trump talking about in that meeting on Friday that blew up the way it did. He said, I can't talk negatively about Putin and then go and try to negotiate with him. It's
not gonna work.
Exactly what Bill Clinton said. So don't just tell me that it's Donald Trump, it's Donald Trump. Donald Trump's bad and know what he's doing. Bill Clinton had to do the exact same thing.
All right, so there's kind of an unwritten rule that I've lived by, and it wasn't until I saw Jesse Kelly tweet it, I was like, that's exactly how I've been. If you want to have a discussion with me off the air, another person within the industry, about what we do or how we do it or what you like and what you like, I'm like, that's cool. Let's have a beer and let's talk about it. The minute where, and it's different from playful banter. It's funny when we make fun of shows or we joke around with each other. That's different. When I recognize that you're airing out dirty stuff on the air, we're done. Like, there is no coming back from that. Like, I still remember this one guy, he was desperately trying to get a job here. And he would use his Twitter feed in his radio show that he was working at down the road to crap on different people at the station. And I remember reaching out to him and just telling him, it was like two things. One, it's not you against me. It's you versus your own management. And if they're not paying you enough or they're not giving you enough opportunity, that's not on me. And second, I'll do everything I can from now on to make sure you never get a job here.
Yeah, because I have no desire to help you because you've done nothing.
You put this out publicly.
You're trying to screw me.
And you think it's any different in the political world? No.
It's actually worse.
You don't crap on somebody internationally. You get behind that door, and that's where you have it out. In private, here's what we're doing.
Which is what J.D. Vance said.
That's what they were pointing out.
To a T. He said, we're not going to litigate this in the media. We're going to talk about it later. We're going to talk about it in private, which is the way every deal is done. Do you think a CEO of a company is going to get on Twitter and do a Spaces as they negotiate with the other company they're dealing with? No. They do it in private, and then they bring the results to the public.
I'm telling you, I'm going to wait until, like, we're going to have Congressman Buddy Carter in at the end of the month, and I'm going to be like, why do you're not giving me credit for my inflation joke. And then I'm going to say the same thing to Clay Travis. We're going to have it out in our own little fun way, and then we're going to move on.
That's right.
It'd be like, you both have stolen from me.
Hey, thieves. Thieves. There's thieves among us.
I'm not actually mad about it, but it's just fun to keep score on that one.
Well, it's just good because it's gotten used so many times. It's been recycled so many times, and it shows up.
Thievery.
Shows up over
Stealing
and over
bits,
and
man.
over again. Even the station across town has lifted a couple things off of Los. And recently, too.
I know.
9 o'clock hour is brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your home exterior solution since 1999. Windows, doors, roof, siding, gutters. They can build a porch. They can screen in the porch. Whatever you need to the outside of your home. Right now, a couple different offers. You can do 0% financing for 12 months, or you can get 10% off any job you choose, no matter how big or small. 8779 Southern, southernexteriors.co. Don't forget that, southernexteriors.co. It's like the Obama administration showed up with Zelensky at the Oval Office on Friday. I'll explain what I mean next on Extra 106.3. The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's Tug, and here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Hamas needs to be destroyed, wiped off the map. And Donald Trump may just be the president that would support that. Israel has every right to seek the utter destruction of Hamas.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Atlanta, it's Mark from the Safe House. Now that President Trump has unburdened us from what could have been, our country's finally headed in the right directions. But the Democrats are screaming and yelling and losing their minds. And unfortunately, the bad guys are still here and they want your stuff. Thank you, Joe Biden. And customers are still reporting break-ins and thefts of their hard-earned valuables. Don't wait till it's too late. Get a quality safe from the Safe House. We carry the largest selection of safes in the Southeast. And remember, gun safes are sales tax-free at Atlanta Safe House. So give us a call or go to atlantasafehouse.com.
You know the old expression, I love it when a plan comes together? Well, with our First Liberty Notes, this has been so true. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about our family's company all the time right here on this station. For over 30 years, we've been the local lender who said yes when the big banks say no. A couple of months ago, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Folks from airline pilots to physicians to even pastors are now earning 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of local small businesses. If you're a qualified investor with a minimum minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. SEC accredited investor status must be verified. Securities not offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
Hi, this is Bruce Hagen.
And this is Matt Hagen.
Hey, look, accidents happen, and that's when Hagen happens. And now, Hagen happens twice, because there's two of us.
We're here for you on what is probably your worst day, so that all the days ahead can be comfortable and taken care of properly.
We treat your personal injury case personally. You're not just a number to us. You're a human being, and we're going to treat you with the respect that you deserve.
Let us here at Hagen Law be your advocates. You can find everything you need to know at Hagen-Law.com.
Hagen-Law.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Estella's Pharma.
There are crazies on the road. Who knows where they're all going, but if one of them hits you, don't take care of it on your own. Call my friend David Van Sant. He is the lawyer that used to work for the insurance company. The team at Van Sant Law knows who to call, what to say, and will make sure you get what you deserve and what the insurance company doesn't want to pay for. They have your best interest at heart and will take care of everything. If you don't get paid, they don't get paid. My advice, save Van Sant Law in your phone. Today, 855-GA injury, vansantlaw.com.
My USPS Ground Advantage package just left the warehouse. I get all the updates. Stay in the know with USPS Ground Advantage service. Visit USPS.com/in-the-know.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Good morning. Here are your headlines for Monday, March 3rd. A 5-week-old baby girl is now safe with her mother after an Amber Alert on Sunday. Police are still searching for the father, Jamel Darcel Simpson, a 29-year-old man believed to be driving a blue Jeep Grand Cherokee. Anyone with information is encouraged to call the Johns Creek Police Department. Today's weather starts with chilly temperatures in the mid-30s and eventually warms up to the low 60s with some clouds this afternoon. We'll have similar weather on Tuesday and a strong possibility of storms on Wednesday. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3, 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your home exterior solution since 1999. They can do all the things that need to be done on the exterior of your home: doors, windows, siding, roof, gutters, build you a deck, screen in your deck, screen in part of your deck. And right now you can get 0% financing for 12 months, and or you can choose 10% off any job. Whatever you choose to do with Southern Exteriors, they will do a great job for you. That is first and foremost. And it's another one of examples. If you hear an advertiser like that you're in the market for something like that, give them the first opportunity to earn your business. Los, I feel like part of the Obama administration showed up in the Oval Office on Friday. As I've said a couple times this morning, I think Zelensky was coached up to behave the way he did, and that's what he went with. That's what he ran with. The fact that Susan Rice, people like that, the old Obama team who installed Zelensky to begin with, were partially to blame for his outlandish behavior. Now, he had to do it. Obviously, he had to say, yep, you know what, this is good. I'm going to go with it. Let's see if we can rattle Trump's cage and get what we want, because it works so well, swimmingly almost, with the Biden administration. Remember how many times he would yell and scream and holler, and all of a sudden there'd be a new money package or a new weapons package to the Ukrainians? He didn't realize that things have dramatically shifted since November of 2024.
There's a Game of Thrones aspect to this. If anybody watched the show, you remember the multitude of storylines that were always playing out. And again, it was all about the throne, but there's 6 or 7 storylines that are always going on, and who's playing who, and what is the plan moving forward, and what is the expected result versus actually what happens. Susan Rice and the rest of them, according to reports, thought to
from
themselves,
the Federalist is where this is stimulated
yes,
or coming
from this
generated
story,
from,
that they anticipated Trump backing down, or that this was going to create a scenario in which case you would have a whole different set of dollars that were going to come in from Europe to back these people. And what happened? Trump didn't back down, and while Europe pledged their fealty towards Ukraine,
got nothing.
It's not enough money.
They don't have enough money. They don't have the military. They have nothing, which is why you saw the Prime Minister of Great Britain, or the UK rather, say, hey, you need to go back there. He said this on television after they've been so vocal. We're in full support of Ukraine. They know they don't have anything, and they instructed Zelensky, you better rethink this. You better go work out that deal.
But if you're Zelensky and you're listening to these suggestions, what you're considering is, am I trading mineral rights for American security? Now, does that mean boots on the ground? No, of course not. That couldn't have been on the table. Would have meant maybe still a flowing of arms and supplies? Possibly.
Well, we got something we needed out of it, the rare earths.
But someone in that pre-meeting talked him into, you're going to get the arms and keep the minerals. And that's just dead wrong.
Yeah,
that's just a misunderstanding of what they thought was going to happen. And all you did was give Trump and Vance the ability to go in front of the American public. And as we played earlier in the show, Trump said, I'm not bending the knee to the globalists. Bend the knee again. Game of Thrones reference, everyone. Bend the knee. That was a fact of saying, I see what they're playing here. We're not going along with it.
Backing down. I wrote that when you said he's not backing down. I think they thought, meaning the Democrats and whoever instructed Zelensky to do this, they thought Trump would be under the spotlight, right? And sometimes under the spotlight, you may go along to get along, right? Because you don't want to hash this out in public. So you probably say things you wouldn't normally say. Trump doesn't work like that. The spotlight is on him. He's not afraid of that. When the on-air light comes on, he doesn't feel pressure like that. Donald Trump was like, I don't care where we are. I'm going to do what's best for the United States of America right now, today, tomorrow, and every day moving forward. The days of doing things that aren't helpful to America and Americans are over. I don't care how bright the light is.
No, that was the benefit of it. And because of the way that Zelensky conducted himself on live television, that only fed into it. I'm not doing this. If you're Donald Trump saying, I'm not going to put us in forever wars. We're ending this stuff and we're keeping our own treasure. Zelensky only helped his argument. Because there was probably some people, including, as we noted earlier, Lindsey Graham, let's keep helping them. Let's keep doing what we're doing. Even he said, this isn't working anymore.
Well, use Lindsey as the example. I used the ambassador that had her head in her hand. She knew it wasn't going well. She knew what was being shown to the world, that Donald Trump is right about this, and Donald Trump's going to steer the course. He's going to stay the course and do the right thing for America and the American people. He's not going to bend the knee, as he said, because why would you? Like, what's the benefit? We've done that already, and that has been it's failed policy. That has been a failure completely. That's exactly what Joe Biden did. That's exactly what Barack Obama did, and it got us nowhere.
Well, we can always say that with what we did, as far as the expenditure of money and the military equipment, that we created a trench warfare situation with the Russians, that they couldn't advance beyond where they've been. But in recent weeks, they've actually taken more area. The areas that are being negotiated, that you can keep these certain Russian areas that are traditionally Russian, they've expanded beyond that. So you're now actually asking the Russians, hey, these more miles of territory, you got to give this part back. That's going to be a different discussion if they keep pushing inland. Because now you're having to tell them, hey, I know that extra 50 miles you created this buffer zone. Yeah, you got to give that back. Well, what are you going to give me for that?
Yeah, what's the negotiation? Which is why Donald Trump said, I can't blast Vladimir Putin right now, because if I do, he's not going to negotiate.
This deal, because we always want sweetheart deals. I don't care if you're talking about a home, a car, whatever you're trying to line up. I got a guy, and I'm going to get a sweetheart deal. This deal, the longer this goes on, is not going to get sweeter.
No, it's actually
for us or the Ukrainians. It's time to make this thing happen now.
Which is what the Europeans so surprisingly do not see. They do not understand that the deal gets worse. Now, I think what they do understand is they've got so much tied into the Ukraine. There's so much nastiness that goes on there. They understand that part of it. They understand, hey, this is how liberals and communists make their money, laundering money through the Ukraine. So they understand that part of it, but they have no backbone and they have no ability. Even if they were strong and they were resolute behind Ukraine, which I don't believe that they truly are, they don't have anything to back it up with. They've got nothing. All Elon Musk has to do is turn off Starlink. It's over. It is absolute. Russia could take the entirety of the country if they wanted to at that moment, because that's the only hope that the Ukrainians have. That's how they're flying drones, and that's how they're targeting the Russians using CIA and U.S. special operations.
Time to make a deal.
Yeah, it is. That's
and
right.
now there's been conflicting reports that Zelensky is taking the deal. It's back on the, okay, I'm taking the deal. But there's been reports of, well, no, he's going to take the UK's deal.
Okay,
no,
well,
he's
good luck
going
with
to
that.
You figure out which one it's going to be. But the longer you delay, it only comes across.
The deal gets worse.
I joked around about it over the weekend. Hitler had the fear bunker in Berlin. Here's the bunker, in which case he and Eva Braun took their cyanide pills, shot themselves. That was the fear bunker. Zelensky's fear bunker is the Oval Office. Here's where it came to an end. And whether he knows it or not, this is the end.
Oh, I think he does. I absolutely think he does. He knows that Europe can't help him. He knows they don't have a military.
Sign the deal.
Sign the deal. That's exactly right. Morning Xtra.
There's no more cards.
Yeah, we're the only reason you have cards to begin with.
I did change that on my profile, by the way.
What's that? We have no more cards.
You don't have the cards.
You don't have the cards, which is exactly right. They have.
That's such a poker play.
It is.
You want to see another card? You don't have the cards.
Yeah,
you have the money or the cards to see it,
and you know it. That's the biggest problem Zelensky has is he knows he doesn't have the cards. He thought he could shake Trump down the way he did Joe Biden, and he can't. Tug and Los until 10. And Los did change that on his profile, but he probably should have put Grandma Killer up there, too.
Yeah, game recognizes game. Because I recognized during COVID, killed probably tens of hundreds of grandmas with my lifestyle. Didn't really change anything. I just
went out to eat and things.
Took my ivermectin and just kind of rolled along. Never got it. And if I believe in Dr. Sabine Hazan, who, let's just say that she's had an interest in including me in one of her studies as one of the people that never got COVID. And she believes that it might have something to do with your microbiome. She's published a paper on that has been peer-reviewed and acknowledged that some people have a certain amount of gut health where they just are not susceptible to certain illnesses. I say that to then say, I probably didn't kill tens of hundreds of grandmas.
No, truly, but that's what they accused you of.
They did. Now, Andrew Cuomo, now that
he did
is a different scenario. The former governor of New York who at one point proceeded to march people that we knew to be ill back into nursing homes. Now, the average age
with
of
their comorbidities.
Their average age of death for people in this country when it came to COVID was 78 years old. It was an elderly disease. Yes, there's some randoms here and there, just as there is anything else, but largely a 78-year-old on average is who this thing killed. Cuomo has so many deaths on his ledger, and yet he came out as he's going to be the savior. Is that he was basically saying he wants to run for mayor in his first appearance since his campaign launched over the weekend. This guy who got run out of, by the way, he got run out of the governorship of New York, not for his actions during COVID of killing thousands of elderly people. He got run out for bad touch. He touched somebody and somebody said, "Woo, hey, lawsuit."
But
bad touch.
That's his karma credit right there. That's karma coming around. They didn't get him the way they should have. It's like Al Capone. They didn't get Al Capone for being a gangster. They got him for tax evasion. They still got him.
And so, again, as one player to another, I'm like, player, I got my grandma, so did you. Now, I don't think I should be able to run for the mayor of New York, but we'll see if New York, because now that we're 5 years removed, is going to remember that Andrew Cuomo killed your grandparents.
I can't imagine him, because the campaign against him is going to be so easy. The ads are going to write themselves, and people will not forget. I mean, you got Janice Dean from Fox News Channel, the weather lady.
Both. She had a multitude
It was her mother-in-law and father-in-law
that were both killed because of Cuomo's acts and how that spread around the nursing home.
She's very vocal on social media about it.
Yep.
She is, probably, maybe the most vocal of anybody that I've seen that has not let it go. And good for her. She shouldn't let it go. Is that her pinned picture?
She has a pinned picture from yesterday that just says, "Thank you for not forgetting." And yes, it's mother-in-law and father-in-law.
Who are now deceased because of the actions of
Andrew Cuomo.
That's exactly right.
And the move that he made, this, just kind of taking a look at just her timeline, that was such a traumatic moment that could have been avoided. Now, when you have elderly parents, who knows? Maybe they live 2 more months, maybe they live 5 more years. But like every single day is like an additional blessing to you. To know that you had a politician who made a move that we knew around the country, nobody else was doing this. He was. And so that was a majority of your deaths in the state of New York, were nursing home deaths, in part because of his policies to keep these people locked down in this area. He just thought to themselves, and it was very cold and dirty fashion, that if we can just keep the deaths to these areas and these elderly people, it won't spread amongst the majority of the population. But we knew.
We already knew.
We already knew. I was publishing data on Twitter at the time, X now, about what the South Koreans had found about the average age, comorbidities, and at the time it was 99.6. Turned out to be 99.7. Yet Andrew Cuomo thought to himself, if we just burn out the nursing homes, we don't have to worry about it spreading amongst the main population.
And that's why
they sacrificed him.
He will never be elected. I don't know. I know Jeray's got a list of predictions that he started this morning, one with Los earlier. You can put this prediction down for me. Cuomo ain't ever going to be elected in New York. It'd be too easy. It's so simple. It's so obvious that he does not belong in any place of power.
We're going to find out how much that place has turned if it's gone more to a purplish end. We're going to find out, because that's some of the numbers that it was the Jewish Americans in the city of New York that had pushed so much more into Trump's favor, and the young people that had pushed more into Trump's favor, that suddenly it wasn't an automatic when it came to governorships or when it came to the mayor. Anymore.
Yeah. I don't believe he'll ever be. I don't think he will ever be elected there because of what he did. And you'll have lots of people like Janice Dean that will lead the charge, gladly lead the charge.
After killing thousands of elderly people, Andrew Cuomo should be in prison, not running for mayor. How about this one? He should be in prison for murder, not running for mayor. So, no, I'm glad people have not forgotten that.
Not forgotten. I believe that and I've not even done that search, but I'm glad that I'm hearing it. Says the Morning Xtra on Xtra 106.3, a non-prescription ad that's sure to make you smile this morning as we wrap up the Morning Xtra Tug and Los until 10.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your sports headlines for Monday, March 3rd from Braves Spring Training. The team is in action this afternoon, this time from Port Charlotte, as they match up with the Tampa Bay Rays. First pitch is set for 1:05 this afternoon. You can check out that game on our sister station's app, 680 The Fan. The Atlanta Hawks, they're on the road tonight, taking on a 38-22 Memphis Grizzlies squad. The Hawks currently hold on to the 9th seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. That tip-off is set for 8 o'clock. And the NFL Combine has come to an end. The new league year set to begin for 2025 will begin on the afternoon of March 12th. With your headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
HGI Wealth Advisors is your financial defense partner, preparing you for the unexpected when the inevitable happens in life. Our tailored strategies empower families to build wealth, generate infinite income, and mitigate taxes, fees, and penalties. At HGI Wealth Advisors, we help you transfer wealth while creating an everlasting legacy. Our goal is to ensure you meet your financial needs today, tomorrow, and into retirement. Our experienced team is committed to ensuring your legacy endures for generations to come. Learn more at hgiwealthadvisors.com.
Hey there, I'm Tara, owner and publisher of Our Town Monthly, Cobb's favorite family lifestyle magazine. Partnering with our community and local businesses is what we love to do. Check out what's happening at the Avenue West Cobb.
Hey everyone, I'm Alondra. The Avenue West Cobb is just a short drive from Atlanta. Discover the dynamic mix of premium national brands like J. Jill and J. Crew, plus unique local realtors and delicious restaurants, including Lazia and Jim and Nick's. And don't forget our exciting events. Our bunny photos and our annual Spring Festival is just around the corner, and Puppy Fun at Paul's Fest is this summer. The Avenue is a vibrant destination with entertainment for the whole family. For the latest details, please visit us at theavenuewestcobb.com.
Sounds amazing. Friends, I'll see you at the Avenue West Cobb. Remember, our town is your town at Our Town Monthly.
We're smart, we care. We're Central Heating and Air.
Central Heating and Air Conditioning wants you to know the start of the new season is the perfect time to ensure your home's comfort. Don't wait like most people do to have your HVAC system serviced. Your home should have maintenance twice a year. Maintenance helps keep your system running at peak efficiency and extends the life of your equipment. So turn to Atlanta's Carrier experts for your system's maintenance at 770-GET-HEAT or centralheat.com. With Central, you get Carrier products, Carrier warranty, and Carrier peace of mind. Plus, it's allergy season and Central Heating and Air can fix what ails your house and possibly your family with home ventilation and air quality products. Central has packages designed around health using variable speed, fresh air ventilation, air cleaners, air purifiers, dehumidifiers, and more. With Central, you're not just a number, you're a member of the family. It's been that way since 1947, and they've serviced over 100,000 customers right here in Atlanta. Call 770-GET-HEAT or go to centralheat.com.
We're smart, we care. We're Central Heating and Air.
Hi, my name is Steve from Marietta, and we hired ATL Turf Co. to build our dream backyard golf setup. They installed a large 4-hole putting green, a sand bunker, a short game area, and did a full conversion to artificial grass around the pool with decorative retaining walls. ATL Turf Co. was really creative. They were efficient. The installation was a breeze. Price was completely reasonable, and I definitely appreciated their communication throughout the project. I would definitely recommend ATL Turf Co. to anybody thinking about doing a backyard makeover. You can check them out online right now at atlturfco.com.
When you hear the term living better, what do you think about? More money? A bigger house? Maybe a yacht? What about how you feel physically? How you wake up each day? How you sleep? What activities you can and cannot do? When you feel good, life is good. So if pain is affecting your life, see how Relief Factor can help. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, it doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or even eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. So give their 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day. And it just takes a phone call, 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're hurting, in 3 weeks or even days, Relief Factor can give you a chance to rediscover the true meaning of living better again. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Keep up with all of our shows and the latest headlines by following Extra 1063 on Instagram, X, Facebook, Truth Social, and all your social media platforms. Plus exclusive giveaways and more. So follow now at XTRA 1063.
Shane Gillis has made a name for himself. He is a guy that I didn't know much about, and then it was his Trump impressions that drew me in when he was talking about Trump killing a terrorist, and he goes out there like it's a after a fight press conference where he's hooting and hollering and gives the terrorist down the road. He's like, terrorist cried, I wouldn't have cried. I wouldn't have cried. If you've seen that, you know exactly.
Daddy.
Yeah, so funny. And he's back, and he's blowing it up on Saturday Night Live now.
So the fun part is the man lasted on Saturday Night Live for like 1 month. And then
and they kicked him off.
And they fired him. And so since, whether you want to watch him in Protect Our Parks with Rogan or any of his stand-up specials, the profile's just grown and grown and grown to the point where Bud Light was like, we need to bring in Shane Gillis because he cracks people up, and we got to soften our image because we're Bud Light. We need the help. So Shane Gillis ends up doing Saturday Night Live for now the second time he's hosting. He was hosting this past Saturday. And there's those skits that they do, the pre-recorded ones. I think this legitimately becomes the funniest they've probably had in like 10 or 15 years.
Okay.
So we're so used to, and we talk about it all the time in our world, how Big Pharma runs all of network television and all of news networks. The reason why they don't go after Big Pharma is because they're spending billions of dollars.
That's the reason you never hear any news anchor, local or national, go after and say, hey, everything that this causes seems worse than the affliction you're suffering with anyway.
Like, what is Neil Bortz? What is the one that he goes after where he's like, all those fat people dancing?
Oh, is that the
Is that Jardians?
Jardigan.
Jardians,
whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he's like, oh, look at her and her giant moo-moo, And so he gets really worked up about these. So I want you to take a listen, as this is cut from the same cloth. And we're going to play the whole thing because it's just fun. This is for a new medication called COUPLABEERS.
Fast acting.
Couple of beers.
Have a great day, gang.
You too, hon.
You wouldn't know it, but a few months ago, anxiety and depression were ruining my life. I was struggling at work. Hey, you need something, bud? I was struggling as a father. Ah, come on, Andrew. You can't be bad at school and sports. And struggling as a husband.
I'm so upset because my mom's doctor thinks that we should move her into an assisted living place.
That's awesome. I was at a real low point. That's when I talked to my doctor about a couple of beers. A couple of beers is a revolutionary medicine that treats anxiety and depression fast. And within minutes of taking it, I'm back to my old self. Andrew! I love you, buddy. You're the best in the whole world. My confidence is through the roof. What are you guys laughing at? How stupid you are? Jay, you look freaking hot, man. You been doing like Pilates?
Excuse me?
Oh, sorry. I'm just having a tough time adjusting to my new medication. So.
It's got the owl.
The way it works is simple. A couple of beers quickly turns a cloudy, rainy day into a sunny one. It's that easy. Now I'm the me I want to be. And I'm not the only one who's noticed the change.
Cheryl's making me feel so bad for skipping her birthday trip, but it's like...
Hey. She's just jealous because you're so beautiful. A couple of beers is a clinically proven treatment for conditions like boredom, depression, winter, museum, hangovers, affair, and moderate to severe Italian wife. If you miss a dose of a couple of beers, don't worry. You won't. Brother, you will never miss a dose. It's kind of thing, the only thing you really remember after a while is to take it. The most common side effect of a couple of beers is drowsiness.
Yeah.
So you may want to ask your doctor about a little bump. The way a little bump works is simple. Once the drowsiness of a couple beers sets in, you simply take a little bump and let the medication do its thing.
That's right. As he's cleaning up the house so fast.
Teach my kid how to swing, baby. So if you're ready to get your life back, talk to your doctor about
now
a couple
his whole
of beers.
family is in the
maybe even a little
room.
bump.
Honey, can you come sit down? We need to talk.
No. A couple of beers. What's the big deal? Calm down. God. Mom and Dad. What are you guys doing here?
Dude, it's brilliant. And he's just the guy to pull that off.
Oh, man.
He's deadpan enough.
Couple of beers, and then, was it just a bump?
Just a bump, yeah.
And the funny part is, it's clearly cocaine, but there's a key that's in there like Keytruda.
Yeah.
So it looks like the Keytruda box,
right.
but it's a bump of cocaine.
Good Lord.
And so he's explaining how it works. Well, when the tiredness hits you, you just take just a bump.
Oh,
a little
my
bump.
God, dude. Shane Gillis is he is probably making more money than anybody I've ever met in my whole life. And it all started with a Trump impression. Can you believe that it's gone from that?
It was a giant rebound.
To the biggest. I mean, he's like he's the go-to comedian for everything.
There's a handful of people. Now, I know that when he came through Atlanta, it didn't go great in that it went like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like you really need to be able to do a set when you're the headliner of close to like an hour and a half. But when you look at the people that currently are able to get, the most people with butts in the seats, obviously Dave Chappelle and Kevin Hart are probably the top two. Chris Rock, when he was doing the tour with Dave Chappelle, was doing very well. Shane Gillis, though, is one of those where I don't think the tickets last very long.
That's right. Yeah.
And we're talking like beyond the club scene. We're talking now like the tabernacle sort of scene. We're now talking 3,000, 4,000 seats or bigger with arenas with some of the tours.
Yeah, no question. Like State Farm for a Chappelle and a Chris Rock. He's not to that level yet, but if he keeps trending this way, if he keeps showing up on Saturday Night Live and
once you host Saturday Night Live,
that's the Rock. I mean, that's launched so many careers, including Chris Rock.
You're pretty huge when you can do that.
Yeah.
And it's now just, all right, how good are all of your specials and your shows, and it all builds on one another. Like, I always thought it was interesting when Joe Rogan talked about how the goal of every single comedian in the 90s was, I got to get on a television show. Like, if I can just get a television show, if I can get a television show, then I've made it. Now it's just turned into, let me hit on Netflix. And when I go out on the road, I do really huge venues.
Dude, can I read you one of the responses to the posting from SNL for that skit?
Please.
This dude who, it says Brent O'Connor, and he's got a Ukrainian flag. And it says, sorry. Yeah, so right. I wanted to point that out. Sorry, I don't find it funny to joke about alcoholism and drug addiction.
Too bad. Guess what we do in Donald Trump's America?
Laugh.
Joke around about alcoholism and drug use.
We're able
fact,
to laugh.
And that's Brendan?
Yes.
Brent, sorry. If Brent wants to really be upset, tomorrow we'll bust out the news anchor, news desk bit that they did on Saturday Night Live. Did you see that one?
I didn't know. Is it this weekend?
It was this weekend.
I've not seen any of SNL this weekend.
Let me tell you what it was. You had 2 white anchors, 2 black anchors, and based on the story, they would try and guess whether it was a white or a black person who had caused the problem.
Well, because those guys already do it where they write the headlines for each other to make them look completely racist.
This was all set up as your afternoon news desk.
Right.
And it starts off with, in a quiet neighborhood, and Kenan Thompson's like, it always starts with that. And it's like, a meth shop. Oh, that's yours.
Got it. Yeah.
And so, there was another one where it was a fight went on at a concert, and they're like, oh, okay, I don't know about that one. And it was like, where a shooting occurred for selling bootleg T-shirts. And immediately Gillis is like, oh, that's y'all. You know that's y'all.
Yeah, y'all got that one.
And so that was the game they were playing. So, yes, we even in Trump's America have comedy that makes fun of race.
Yes.
It's back.
As it should be, man.
You and your Ukrainian flag and your lack of humor.
You should be able to. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. That's always been
you'll just be Brent, who's mad at the world and everything else. That poor dude probably just sits there with his cats and thinks about why don't women love him? Why can't he find love?
Yes. It just, I do not understand the joy found in no joy. If that makes any sense to you at all. It's like they love being angry. They love not laughing. They revel in it. They wallow in it.
So here's a big difference in me and the crazy people on Twitter. Like when they get all worked up about my post, then they're worked up about my post. I'm the one who's putting it out there celebrating that I was right again. I don't need your credit. I was like, I was right. We're good here. Right. I'm happy. I did good again. You can be as mad about it as you want. You can debate it all you want, but I'm right and you're wrong.
And they are.
And I have a microphone and you don't. So ta-ta.
They're mad. They'll stay mad. They'll always be mad. That's the difference in us and them. They love being mad. That'll do it, though. We're going to turn this thing over to Beck for Los and Board Op Jure. My name is Tug. Y'all come back now. You hear?
Stream Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, Glenn Beck, Fox News, and even NASCAR on Sundays. Anywhere on the Extra 106.3 app. Download the app now and get 24/7 access to the live stream, the latest news, and everything you need to know about Atlanta's only conservative talk station. Download the Extra 106.3 app for Apple or Android and check out even more great original content at thepodcastpark.com.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Master Plan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Master Plan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, remember to plan well because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.